Convicted Criminal. Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. I'm slightly too far over, aren't I? Should I go that way? That way, yeah, there we go. There's my mark. I've got two marks now, so I don't know which one to sit at.
You're a no mark.
Because there's a no mark, there's one mark, there's a lighter mark, darker mark. Anyway, no marks are us. Good morning to you. Lee Nalalingam is here with us. Lee, very good morning to you. Nice to see you. What can I tell you? Front page of the Times today has got some very interesting stories on it, all about Andy Burnham. Who Charlotte thinks we should call Andy Barnum, as in Barnum and Bailey, the circus act, which is not a bad shout. New PM starts with a purge. Then it says, Starmer loyalists out on Burnham's first day. Healy surprise pick for Chancellor. Streeting is made Defence Secretary. And then there's another thing that says pledge to cut energy bills is fully funded. He has done that this morning, by the way. Apparently he's going to take VAT off your energy bill, which is going to save, do you know how much he's going to save you, Lee? £45 a year, right?
90p?
By my, well, you're the expert on the finances, right? 90 pence a week, right? So what we want, so what we want from you today is some suggestions on what you can spend your 90 pence on that you've saved every single week by not having to pay your electricity bill VAT. Also, funny you mentioned the fact that convicted fraudster were the two words we started with this morning, convicted criminal. Because I'm looking for the words convicted criminal, because you know how the Times
the Times love to point that out, right?
Pointing out convicted criminal George Cottrell every single time they mention George Cottrell, Posh George as he's known. I found out, by the way, yesterday. Apparently, they've got another bloke who's posher George.
No,
who's even posher than Posh George. But they're not going to tell anybody who he is in case he's a convicted criminal as well. Which I'm not saying he is, by the way. But here's the thing. So every time they mention George Cottrell's name, they say it's prefaced with convicted criminal George Cottrell. So I'm assuming, Pooch, it's somewhere in the Times. I'm going to find. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. I'm looking on the front page, right? It's because Louise Haigh is a convicted criminal, right? Because she admitted to committing fraud. Okay. Now here's the first mention of her in the Times article, in which they say Andy Burnham purged the cabinet of Sir Keir Starmer loyalists and named his former Defence Secretary John Healy as the surprise choice for Chancellor yesterday in an effort to reassure the markets. Louise Haigh doesn't say convicted criminal. Doesn't say convicted criminal.
It'll be inferred, Mike. Keep going.
Right. Well, Louise Haigh, the former Transport Secretary, and doesn't say and convicted criminal, was appointed Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster and First Secretary of State, and is charged with driving the Cabinet Office and the government's agenda. It makes a change from being charged with fraud, I suppose, isn't it? But so there's no mention of the convicted criminal. Doesn't say. Now, it's somewhere in here, right? They've got, let's see, page one. It's proper journalism in the Times because, you know, it's such a good newspaper, right? Now, the next...
She's a convicted criminal, isn't
she? She is a convicted criminal. Louise Haigh, convicted criminal. Page 4 to 5. Low earners may get income tax cut with fiscal rules flexibility. Manchester mayoral record haunts 340 million because he's going to do away with rough sleeping. No more homelessness under Andy Burnham.
Great. We just say it and it happens now, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. And then after that, he's going to become the master of time, space, and dimension. Let's see. PM considering rent freezes. Any mention of convicted criminals? No. Maya Singer Hobbs, a senior research fellow. No, nothing mentioned that. Oh, here we go. Yeah, look, pages 6 and 7. We've got a big spread on all the people who are in the new cabinet, right? And it's got Angela Rayner, who's the housing secretary. Wes Streeting, defence secretary. He's good at defending himself, isn't he, old Wes? Lucy Pell, education. They've got rid of that ghastly woman, Bridget Phillipson, by the way. She's gone. Annalisa Midgley, chief whip. Crikey, have you seen the state of her?
I wouldn't want to see her with a whip.
No, I wouldn't. Yvette Cooper is the Secretary of State for Health. They didn't give it Angela Rayner. Angela Rayner housing, because obviously she knows a lot about houses.
Of course she does.
Has she paid her...
no.
Because normally speaking, if you don't pay your taxes, you become a convicted criminal. But she's not a convicted criminal. But I say who is a convicted criminal is Louise Haigh. Louise Haigh, convicted criminal.
Well, does it say it there? Hold it up where it says convicted criminal.
Here it is. It says here. See here, there she is. She's got red hair, right? It says Louise Haigh in as First Secretary of State and Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster.
But surely it says
convicted criminal.
But it doesn't say convicted criminal. I know. Hang on. Over here, we've got a sort of a biography of everybody who's been. So it's bound to be in here, right? So Ed Miliband, Foreign Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, Home Secretary, Pat McFadden, Work and Pensions, Jonathan Reynolds is back. He's a con man, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's the guy who pretended to be a solicitor, fake solicitor, Jonathan Reynolds. It doesn't mention that, funnily enough.
No.
Says he is a safe pick for Burnham, who has vowed to be pro-business. Reynolds was well liked by industry, but critics have noted that as a solicitor by training, he wasn't a solicitor by training. This is the Times newspaper, people.
Solicitor by lying.
Yeah. What do you do? I'm a solicitor. Are you? No, I'm just pretending to be one. What is wrong with these people?
And I'm the Emperor of Kurdistan.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, here we go. Louise Haigh. This is it. This is what we're looking for. First Secretary of State, Duchy of Lancaster for the Cabinet Office and convicted criminal. Oh. No, it doesn't say that. The MP for Sheffield Heeley was Burnham's right-hand woman throughout his leadership campaign. Haigh has been rewarded with a key job running the Cabinet Office, the engine of government that will be critical to Burnham's chances of making his time in number 10 a success. It makes her one of the most powerful women in the country and completes a remarkable comeback after she resigned as Starmer's Transport Secretary in November 2024 over revelations that she had been convicted of fraud over a missing work phone. So they finally said...
it took them long enough.
What page, Mike? What page
page 6
Page-
of the Times.
page 6.
No, not on page 1. Also, it doesn't say convicted criminal.
No.
It says she was convicted of fraud. So when they do stories about George Cottrell, they always say...
Convicted criminal.
No, but they start the story with convicted criminal.
Yeah.
They've got a podcast, right, on the Times,
Yep.
which is the story behind the convicted criminal behind reform. They call him the convicted criminal behind reform.
It's just insane.
Isn't it ridiculous?
Right, should we get
Do you know
everyone
what?
at home to do it, Mike? Let's all do one.
What?
Everyone at home are convicted.
Yeah,
criminals.
everybody at
Louise
home.
Haigh
Right.
is-
3, 2, 1. Louise Haigh is a
convicted
convicted
criminal.
criminal. I'll tell you what is criminal in the way that she walks. Have you seen this?
Oh, the mark. The mark.
Have a look. Have a look at how she walks.
Hold on, let me
Come on,
find it.
because she waves her arms around in quite a strange way. There's something. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Convicted.
With us, we've got another arrival here in Downing Street, and it is Louise Haigh, a key member in many ways, Beth, of
Louise Haigh, are you going to the Cabinet Office?
And also, you can hear in the background there, Beth Brigby has got such great access to all the politicians. She's having to shout at Louise Haigh to see whether she's got anything to say. Louise Haigh, are you going to the Cabinet Office? Yeah, she's walking up Downing Street, you stupid bint. What do you think she's doing?
Let's have a look at the walk. Hold on.
Let's have a look at the walk, yeah. Ready?
With us, we've got another arrival here in Downing Street, and it is Louise Haigh, a key member in many ways.
Where'd you get that trouser suit from? Eh? High and Mighty. What was the name of that shop? Used to be
High and Mighty.
High and Mighty.
Yeah, units are us.
Units are us, yeah. Yeah, sorry, we haven't got it in your size, madam. Why don't you go to the men's section? I mean, goodness gracious me. So, you know, the thing that I find extraordinary, Lee, and I'm sorry to be banging on about this,
No, go for
in
it.
a way which is quite unlike the way anybody else does it, is that the fawning that goes on. All of these bloody, you know, highly paid journalists, right, standing around Ministry of City walks. That's brilliant. We've got another one for you in a minute. Just bear with us. Phillipson wasted £500,000 of taxpayers' money attempting to act university free speech laws. That's right.
She did.
And also, don't forget, she promised to bring in, 6,500 new teachers by charging VAT on private health, private schools.
And we have 1,900
Everybody
less.
left the private schools, and we haven't got many more teachers.
No, 1,900 less you'd last
1,900 less, there you go, brilliant. That's why she's no longer Education Secretary. No, I'm from the northeast of England and I'm a really good Education Secretary. Well, no, you're not. No, you're out now, so get lost. So all of these fawning sort of journalists, right, who are literally tripping over themselves, talking about how great it is that there's a new team coming in. Not one of them has said, which what I'm about to say, is that here's what we've done. We've had 2 years of a useless government run by useless individuals, all of whom have now been swept away because they were useless, only to be replaced by more useless people who won't know what to do for the next 2 years. And what we're told by Her Majesty's press is that basically we've got a new Prime Minister starting with a purge. He's going to be brilliant. Front page of the Daily Mail. On his first day as Prime Minister, Andy Burnham vowed the biggest political changes of 40 years, refused to rule out yet more tax hikes, put a convicted fraudster in charge of his leftist agenda and made Ed Miliband Foreign Secretary, but thankfully not Chancellor. And then they say, let's pray he knows what he's doing. I don't think he does know what he's
He
doing. Does he?
doesn't know what he's doing. None of these people know what they're doing.
You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. We might as well just revert to football chants, might we? It'd be simpler.
Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, we did have the Keir Starmer as a wanker chant go on quite well, didn't we? But
Yes.
I had a bunch of teenagers actually singing it outside of my flat during the World Cup. But they do not know what they're doing.
No.
And
they're spending our money doing it.
they're spending their money doing it. Turns out they can't tell us where the money's going either.
No.
Do you think this is a good idea? There's a comment here.
I'm putting my 90p towards the increase in my council tax. Now, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Very good idea.
That's not going to cover it either.
Trouble is, your council tax going up by more than £48
Going up
a
by
year.
more than that. What is it? So what is it?
They're talking about 10% rises, aren't they?
10% rises, unlimited rises. And remember, the government has failed audit for the third year in a row, and they have found that, 338 sets of public accounts haven't been signed off.
Yeah.
And another 145, it turns out they don't have any accounts.
Really? What, they just haven't bothered filling
They
them
just
out?
didn't bother sending anything
Right.
off to the National Audit Office. And
Well,
so,
I mean, are we not in a situation now where hardly anything gets audited anyway? You know,
hardly
things
anything.
don't get
Well, no,
approved
that-
by the
that-
auditor's office.
the significant amounts of things don't get approved by the Auditor's Office.
People
and
are off putting
there were-
Ziggy in charge of
there were-
something, you know?
It would probably be better, honestly. At this point, they're just all interchangeable placeholders
Yeah.
and names.
Yeah.
You change them, but it's someone's running the show. It's definitely not our politicians.
Well, should we run through? I've got a list here, actually, and you may or may not wish to comment on all of them as we
Got a
go.
new nickname here.
Go on.
Here we go. On screen.
What's that? Angela the Fridge Rainer. She could be carrying the brick hods on all the new housing estates.
fridge.
Yeah, they've
I love
made. I love it. Let's have a look at the Fridges walk, right?
Yeah,
Because
the fridge has got
she's
the
got
walk.
she's got intelligent glasses as well.
Yeah, let's have a look at
Somebody's
the
given us some intelligent glasses. Oh look,
at the fridge.
here she comes. Remember that guy that used to play for the Chicago Bears, who was the Fridge?
Why are they all so unnatural walking?
They don't know how to walk, do they?
How can
Look,
you
you
not
see
know
her
how to-
arms don't move at all.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got
and that's
Louise
also
Hay.
not
Yeah,
normal.
that's you carrying hods. Your arms are high. He looks like two invisible suitcases.
I'm not sure it's necessary. I think we could have done more.
She's got some invisible.
Also, what happens to the bottom half of the jacket?
I know.
Eh?
They've trimmed it.
Somebody's cut it.
Reminds me of is you
Dear
know when
God.
you do the university graduation and you just try not
Yeah.
to trip over.
That's hilarious. Brilliant. Right, so here's your cabinet list in full, right? John Healey, Chancellor of the Exchequer. We've got Ed Miliband, Foreign Secretary. Wes Streeting, Defence Secretary. Shabana Mahmood, Home Secretary.
Right.
Yvette Cooper, Health Secretary. Angela Rayner, the Fridge. Housing Secretary.
Right.
Jonathan Reynolds, the fake solicitor. Business and Science Secretary. Science!
Science.
This
What's he
guy,
got? Science.
it's not exactly Archimedes. What was that great thing that you posted the other day, Pooch, where the guy was going, it was a letter to the Daily Star, and he said, you know, isn't it unfair that whenever they talk about David Beckham, they say, well, he's a great footballer, but you're not very bright. He's like, they never say that about Stephen Hawking. Being really,
He's
really
very
brilliant.
bright, but he's not good
He's not much good at football.
They say it's one rule
Yeah.
for footballers and another for quantum theoretical physicists.
It's true. All right, next. Lucy Powell, Education Secretary. Bridget Phillipson, Women and Equalities Minister.
Mike, hold on, just start again.
YA.
What?
So John Healey, Chancellor.
So-
Ed Miliband, Foreign Secretary. Wes Streeting, Defence Secretary.
Yeah.
Shabana Mahmood, Home Secretary. Yvette Cooper, Health Secretary. Angela Rayner, the Fridge.
Hold on screen.
Housing Secretary. Pay your council tax.
Can
And
we just keep her here? so
yeah,
you can
just
hire
there.
me?
Yeah, there we go. Exclusive, world exclusive with
Have a
the
quick interview with the Fridge.
with the Zanussi, otherwise known as Angela Rayner. Lucy Powell comes in as Education Secretary. Fake solicitor Jonathan Reynolds, Business and Science. Bridget Phillipson, Women and Equality. Pat McFadden, Work and Pension Secretary. Lisa Nandy, Digital Culture, Media and Sport.
And lies.
And lies, yeah, she hasn't
Lies.
changed. Ed Miliband, Foreign... Oh, no, we've done that. Hang on, where are we? Where's the next one? Oh, yeah, here we go. Miata Fanbule, Energy and Net Zero Secretary.
Nice.
Alex Norris, Justice Secretary. Angela Eagle, Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Secretary. Louise Haigh, Convicted Criminal,
Criminal.
First Secretary of State and Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. Makes you
What
want
a
to weep,
bunch.
doesn't it?
What a bunch.
I don't care what any of these people are doing for a job, because all we know is that they're going to cost us a bucket load of money, and we're all going to be a lot more miserable. Smeg fridge.
They're all going to. They're all.
I mean, what's your favourite brand of fridge?
Yeah, let's have that.
Smeg. We've done Zanussi.
Yeah, but
We've
also
had
good value.
Bosch.
They're great, but they're expensive.
How about Bosch?
Bosch.
Yeah.
Bosch.
Bosch.
Fridge.
Angela Bosch. Raider. Sorry.
Incredible.
I mean, I can't take any of this lot seriously. This is the trouble, right? People are saying to me, you should be taking it more seriously. Why?
Why, yeah.
Why should we take any of these people seriously?
Well, they haven't taken government seriously, have they?
How
Who have
about
we got
this?
here?
The appliance of science. Yeah, very
Brilliant.
good. It's a Whirlpool. Did they do fridges? It was
I think they used to. Yeah.
yeah, Whirlpool. What else?
Tandy.
Do they do fridges?
Yeah, they
I
do,
thought
yeah.
they were that crappy computer company from the 70s.
They do fridges now. Or,
I think isn't there like some Japanese car makers like Yamaha or something? I know them as well.
Probably.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
listen.
it's-
All I'm saying is that these people have ruined the country. They've basically screwed everything up. Andy Burnham's come in and basically said they've all done a terrible job and he's going to fix politics. So we've had 2 years, effectively, by their own admission, of being run by complete and utter idiots.
And he's appointed mostly the same idiots again, just in different jobs.
I mean, we should point out, I suppose, as well, who's gone. And I was quite enjoying it yesterday. Lord Hermer, right, the Attorney
He had to
General,
go.
he's gone. So let's hope that's good news for Misley Mandarin and the
hope so.
Chagos Islands,
Let's hope
right? We've now got some other woman in charge of the Attorney General's office, never heard of her. Rachel Reeves, gone.
Well, hey.
The Chancellor, yeah. Richard III, I said yesterday, time to move out of the way for Richard IV. But there never was a Richard IV, was there?
I'm going to chase Raina down now.
Chase her down.
Yeah, I'll take her out for a date.
What, because she's now a
agent.
decent job, free agent. Yeah. Who else has gone? Let's see. They got rid of that guy, Darren Jones.
Darren Jones is gone.
He's gone.
Which he was just a sycophant.
He was hopeless, wasn't he?
Useless.
And he just
talking
kept being
point,
somebody's sort of right-hand man. First he was Rachel Reeves' right-hand man, and then he was Keir Starmer's right-hand man.
And that's the thing. It's all just appointing loyalists, isn't it? You've got, what did he do? He did absolutely nothing. Steve Reed's gone, the housing guy as well.
Oh, yeah.
To be replaced by Angela Rayner.
Angela the Fridge Rayner.
Again, I mean, Fridge, or what about, we had 2 Jags, what about 3 Homes Rayner?
3 homes, yeah. She's definitely got at least 3 homes.
At least 3
Although
homes.
she had to get rid of the Grace and Favour one, didn't she? She doesn't get. I presume she doesn't get a Grace and Favour flat with this new job, because it's not one of the senior things.
I think she still owns 3 without that.
Yeah, no, she does. But what I'm saying is the fourth one.
Yeah,
the fourth one was
one
the
would be
Admiralty Gate, the one John Prescott used to
Yep.
be in, because she was Deputy Prime Minister,
Yeah.
wasn't she, for a while? So she had that, but she does. So she does. I don't think she has
like
access
a
now.
lifetime ago now, her being.
But she's got the
Prime
house in
Minister.
Manchester where her son lives.
Yeah.
She's got the second home in Manchester where she lives, and
then
she's
the
now
one
got
down
the
in-
Hove flat that she bought with the money that she
I think
removed
she
from
hopes
the
she'll
son's
have a
trust fund.
Yes,
Yeah.
with the trust fund and to keep her seat. I
Very
believe, is
good.
The plan.
Yeah,
the plan,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's a few of the headlines this morning from the fawning press, right? Hot Point. There you go.
Hot point.
Point.
Hot Point. That's it. Hot Point. Actually, it's a good nickname for Andrew, isn't it? Bendix. Yeah, there's one for the teenagers. I think we used to have a Bendix when I was a kid. I remember it leaked once, or and the ceiling nearly fell through down below.
They're all coming out now.
They're all coming out. Daewoo. There you go. Yeah, that'll do. This will do. Siemens. Thank you.
No, good about that.
See what you did there. Disgraceful. Now, look, new Prime Minister starts with the purge. Let's pray Burnham knows what he's doing. Daily Mail. The Sun, Burnham in snub to Miliband, because everyone thought Miliband was going to get the Chancellor's job, and he's ended up with the Foreign Secretary. Burnham pledged to make Britain believe, front page of the Financial Times. Burnham promises to bring back hope, says The Guardian. Who does he think he is? He thinks he's Jesus Christ or something, right? Burnham pins hopes on Healy, says The Telegraph on page 1. And then the only other story that makes the front pages, which The Sun is the only paper I think to have done massively, is Kevin Keegan, who died sadly yesterday at the age of 75 after suffering from a stomach cancer. Liverpool Football Club said his legacy will live on. Newcastle United called him their beating heart. His devastated family said Kevin was a much-loved husband, father and grandfather. It's always a sad story. He was a great player, wasn't he?
He was.
Absolutely brilliant. We'll play you some...
Steve Powell and Steve Reed, they were with Steve Reed chucked out.
Yeah,
Steve Reed's gone, yeah. Lucy Powell, no, Lucy Powell's still in.
there.
she's still there.
She's one of Burnham's sort of loyalists. And there's some talk of her being made Deputy Prime Minister. He doesn't seem to have a Deputy Prime Minister at the moment, does he?
No, I thought Louise Hay was the Deputy Prime Minister.
Who?
I thought Louise Hay.
Louise Hay,
convicted
no,
criminal.
she's the Duchy of Lancaster, which is quite a clever manoeuvre actually, because
Louise Hay?
Louise Hay, the convicted
criminal.
criminal, yeah. Because the thing is, if you gave her a proper job, everyone would keep saying, or maybe they wouldn't, convicted criminal Louise Hay, they'd keep saying that, but because she doesn't have a specific department and therefore she's not responsible for much, she just kind of gets a pass. However, apparently, one of the things that she is going to be in charge of is propriety and ethics.
Of course she's going to be in charge
Now,
of
this is
ethics.
the same woman, by the way, for those of you who've forgotten, who pleaded guilty to being a fraudster because she reported several phones that she had that were stolen, including one which she reported, which she still had in her possession. When she reported it stolen, she actually reported it stolen on the phone that she said was stolen. So not only is she a convicted criminal, she's not very smart. She's not exactly the brains of Britain. So we've now got a convicted criminal running the ethics department of the government. So that doesn't sound great, does it?
Well, to be honest, it sums up the last 2 years perfectly, I think.
It
and
does.
where we are as a country is convicted criminals running riot.
Yeah.
You know, they're releasing a couple of thousand early as well, aren't they? For the rapists.
Come September, they're going to start releasing some murderers,
Yeah.
paedophiles and rapists.
Running as an MP near you, no doubt.
But they haven't
coming forward.
actually announced exactly who those people will be and when they're going to start releasing them. And they're not going to tell the people that they attacked,
Of course they are.
or raped or beat up in a domestic violence situation. So that's all.
Yeah,
great.
they just wait for them to randomly turn up outside of their home.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Correction here, Mike. I said Tandy, it's Candy.
No Tandy fridge, it's Candy. Oh, I see, because Tandy I thought was the computer company, wasn't
I
it?
was wrong.
Yeah, all right. Yes, that's the first time you ever. Hang on. Sorry, can we just have a brief moment here?
Why?
Because you've never been wrong before.
I'm wrong all the time.
No, not on this show.
I am.
You're hardly ever wrong. You normally right all the time. I'm slightly worried now.
There's one more.
I've got one. Cold box, really? Is that the name of a fridge?
I don't think so. I think it was a joke.
Oh, AEG, Angela's excellent growler. Thank you. Mine is a die-wop, says Olivia. A die-wop. That sounds Korean, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Well, anyway, listen, we've got so many great suggestions coming through. Seeing Mahmood and Miliband walking into Downing Street last night, gurning for the cameras, just shows that to them this is all a game, says Kim on the Substack. You know, that's interesting because I was listening this morning. I didn't see all of it because it started yesterday afternoon, right? And it was meant to be all done at 4 o'clock. And apparently, because Rachel Reeves refused to take another job, it threw everything up into the air because the word was on the street that they wanted her to do defence. I can't imagine why you'd want Rachel Reeves,
God,
Richard
can you
III.
imagine her as defence?
Can you imagine Richard III? Get everybody a horse. You know, my horse, my kingdom for a horse. And she apparently turned that down. Therefore, everything was sort of thrown into disarray. So it then went on pretty much all night because I went out last night at about 6-ish, about 5-ish actually, for a couple of hours. And when I came home, they were still doing it. You can't beat a Gaggenau fridge. Those are really expensive.
Yeah.
I stayed in a place once and they had a Gaggenau cooker, and we couldn't work out how to make it work. Do you know, it's got like a, it has a little kind of widget thing, and you have to take it and place it on, because there's no controls, right? And so if you want one of the hot plates to heat up, you have to take this little widget and put it like that on it. And until you know that, you can't do anything. You don't know how to do it. You know, it's like Poochel says, you have to show people how to do stuff.
Yeah.
And we couldn't work it out. And it had a Gaggenau oven as well, which we couldn't turn on because the widget didn't work on that. You know, because you can't put it on the. You know, it was just mad, crazy. But thousands they cost these things. But yeah, so apparently Miliband put his arm around Mahmood and was walking up the street with her and hugging her. Then he hugged Andy Burnham. A lot of hugging goes on.
A lot of hugging, and he looks creepy anyway, doesn't he?
Who, Miliband?
Miliband.
He does. Did you see that picture of him riding a line bike?
Yes.
I put a picture out. He's riding a line bike and he wasn't wearing a helmet.
And again, what is wrong with these people? Why can't they do anything normal? They can't walk. They can't ride bikes normally. They can't eat bacon sandwiches.
They can't eat bacon sandwiches.
Like
I said on one of my little videos, you know, because I put the question out, where's the helmet? And they all went, he's riding the bike. Because they would say that, wouldn't they? That's the kind of people we've got. Lots of really, really good comments coming in. It will be interesting to see how Miliband performs his job in line with his net zero madness, cycling around the world in his cycle clips. He'll be gone for months, thankfully, says Chabby Horse. Yeah, well, this is it. He loves nothing more than to jump on a plane.
He
right?
loves, very net zero of him.
Very net zero.
On the plus side, it'd be good for me because I imagine he's going to sign off lots more foreign contracts for all of these net zero madness and all of these.
Well, one of the things he loves doing is flying to climate conferences all over the world.
Yeah.
And Burnham apparently isn't that keen on foreign affairs, so he won't bother going and meeting people. Although we have got some... actually, we've got a great clip of Miliband. Miliband, the foreign secretary, right, who will have to probably at some point meet Donald Trump, yeah? Check out what he said about Donald Trump. This is Miliband.
Head on this Piers Morgan interview. Apparently, I saw the clip. I think I'm really popular in Britain. No, you're not. And I think it's very important that people, show, and what is objectionable about him? His racism, his misogyny, his incredibly peculiar relationship with Russia,
and the truth,
most of all, the truth. And who he is as a person. I mean, there's a line.
So if you were still leader, you wouldn't go to the banquet. You wouldn't wear the white tie.
Don't know.
Which
State
visits dinners did you go to?
I can't remember.
I bet there were some rum characters involved.
Yeah, I think Trump. People say this, but it's slightly sort of whataboutery. But it's also, our relationship with America is incredibly important, and the response to America that we project has an impact in America, and therefore, sort of how we handle that is really important. I don't think you can just say, well, the Chinese came here, so therefore they shouldn't. Why are there demonstrations against Donald Trump? I don't think it kind of works.
Because
like
China
that.
is. We know China has a different sort of values.
We know China has a different sort of values. We're not sort of joined at the hip historically with China in the way that we are with the US. And, he will want to say out of the visit, it was a great success, I was incredibly popular, etc., etc. I think it has real impact.
So the Americans have to see that he's not popular, and the visit's a failure.
By the way, that's why I think the notion that she rushed out there to invite him is sort of for the birds, really.
Hard to believe, isn't it, that he's now the foreign secretary? He seems to think that our relationship with America is good. Well, maybe he shouldn't have started the conversation with how Trump's a misogynist. Probably not the greatest idea he's ever had. By the way, Rachel Reeves' sister, apparently, Ellie Reeves, is now the new Attorney General.
She is. Is
she a lawyer?
No, I don't believe
so.
She was chairwoman of
This is from Mike in Winchester.
The
so Lord Herm has gone. Also, we've got a poll, by the way, about David Lammy, because David Lammy, of course, gone yesterday. Is that maybe the shortest tenure of anyone who's ever been Deputy Prime Minister? Because he wasn't even Deputy Prime Minister at the beginning of Starmer's reign, was he? No. He's only been doing it since Angela Rayner had to get lost. What's his next job? Mastermind host, 35%. Crash test dummy, 49%. Argentina manager, 4%. Ambassador to Chagos Islands, 12%. Looks like crash test dummies winning at the moment. Yeah, that'd be a great job for Lammy, wouldn't it?
I would have voted for Mastermind host, to be honest.
Mastermind host, very funny. That always worth another wheeling out of thing. There's also Charlotte sent me a couple of pictures of Keir Starmer apparently down the pub yesterday with a pint of beer, and Rachel Reeves having a drink as well. It's nice for them. I wonder if they're going to charge that on their expenses. I bet they are. Meanwhile, when the rest of us go out, we have to pay our own way. What have you been looking at lately, by the way, numbers-wise, in terms of your... Because Lee, for those of you who don't know him, spends a lot of time sort of fanning through various important documents to try and work out just how much of our money is being wasted by the government, whether at local level or national level. Yeah. What have you been doing?
So, honestly, Mike, there's part of me that wants to stop looking.
Well, there's no good news, is there?
There's no good news. I published over the weekend... the DWP has now failed audit for the 38th year in a row.
Right. This is Department of Work and Pensions.
Department of Work and Pensions last passed audit in 1988.
How can they get away with that? I mean, if you and I, as businessmen, right, if I ran a business and I just couldn't produce any accounts effectively for the HMRC or for the company's house or whatever, you get fined.
So you get fined. You go to prison if you couldn't produce it.
So how can they get away with not fining accounts?
Well, that's a question we should all be asking. So they haven't passed audit since 1988.
Right.
38th year they've done it, and the reason they have failed audit, essentially, not my words, direct from the National Audit Office, is because of the levels of fraud in the accounts.
Levels of fraud?
Levels of fraud in the accounts.
The convicted fraudster Louise Haig?
Yeah, maybe she's...
The convicted criminal, at the heart of government, Louise Haig. Thank you very much indeed.
Right, so they have found, just last year, £6.8 billion worth of fraud within the accounts.
6.8 billion?
Billion.
Right.
So they want to impose pull up air taxes, wealth tax, all of that nonsense.
Is that about 500 million a month, by my reckoning?
Yeah, about that. Bit more than that, yeah.
Bit more than 100, so more than 100 million pounds of fraud a week?
Yeah.
Crikey.
Right, and on top of that, the DWP lose another £1.1 billion a year just because they make mistakes.
Mistakes?
Yeah, 1.1 billion. And then they want to tell us there isn't enough money.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? How can you be that useless at your job and still have a job?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. No matter which department you look at, which council you look at, it's the same story again and again. It's very, very, very impossible to begin to believe that this is all accidental at this point, because why is no one stopping this?
Well, I mean, I guess if you're working in this big, huge, massive organisation, you figure that, well, nobody will really notice what I do, so I'll just nick a bit here, nick a bit there, and by the time the end of the year comes, it will be swallowed up by the gargantuan amount of fraud, which nobody else is picking up on, so I won't bother not doing it.
Yep, and I think the National Audit Office have tagged it at about £50 billion a year of fraud from government spending.
Wow.
And then...
Well, we've got Steve Baker coming up in a minute. We can ask him about that, because he'll know a thing or two about government spending and how they get away with all that fraud. Rachel Reeves' new job was to be Labour's complaints department, says Barry. Yeah, she probably couldn't do it on her own. So many complaints. R.I.P. legend Kevin Keegan, says LTL. Thank you very much indeed. DJ Smeg is the name of a fridge maker. It is. I've got, actually...
this is a funny one.
Angela Indishit Raider. Yeah, that's not bad. I had one actually from somebody, from Cliff, I think, when we sent this in. Let me just see if I can find it. Because this took me back. Where are we? Oh, here we go. Frigidaire.
Yeah, Frigidaire.
That was an old one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But a good one. So just incredible. Speaking of organisations that do actually register all of their fraud, the BBC planning to spend £250 million on travel and hotel rooms for staff and presenters, according to documents in the Times. The costs of senior executives are revealed. The broadcaster has earmarked £250 million for air, rail and hotel costs across 7 years from 2028, in addition to round-the-clock taxi services, which is a contract worth up to £63 million.
Fantastic.
£63 million worth of taxis. That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Nice work if you can get it.
Yeah, handy, that, isn't it? It's, keep on paying your TV licence, everyone. Make sure you get that done.
Yeah, unbelievable. A notice advertising the travel deal says this: the BBC is looking to contract with a travel management company to support the booking management and optimisation of business travel. The contract will include air, rail, hotel and ancillary travel services for domestic and international travel. The bidder should provide proactive support for travel reduction and demand management initiatives aligned to BBC cost-saving objectives. Last year they sent 550 people to Glastonbury.
Yep, I fully believe 550 people, because
what do they all do?
Well, enjoy Glastonbury, I imagine, and laugh at us behind our backs. But it's on that travel management piece again. I have found hundreds of millions of pounds worth of contracts for that across not just the BBC. Again, every single government department has the same contract. Every single council has the same contract.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions. What are we doing?
I know. Weird story of the day. How about this one, Pooch? A caged monkey concealed beneath a laundry bag was found abandoned on a London bus.
Sad, isn't it?
By a shocked driver. Did you think he bought a ticket? Huh? Did he have an Oyster card? The monkey. Terrified common marmoset was discovered last Friday at 11:43 a.m. So 11:45 in the morning on a 302 bus travelling between Mill Hill Broadway station and Kensal Rise.
It's just
Who puts a monkey on a bus?
What's happened to London? That's where we are now, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to picture this monkey on the bus. Can you imagine sat next to it? Like,
I mean, what's that in the bag? It's a monkey. Oh, okay, fine. Apparently, they've called the monkey Oyster after the London travel card. It's common marmoset, weighs between 250 and 400 grams, and is native to Brazil. So it's quite a small monkey, right? Not a big monkey.
yeah.
But that's awful, isn't it?
It is. And again,
Welcome
it's,
to London. What's in the bag? A monkey. Dear me. Anyway, also the only other story worth mentioning this morning: 5 coffees a day apparently good for you. Good for your heart.
Which is great news for me to hear because I get through that by lunchtime.
Do you? I mean,
So,
I can't drink more than about 3. I think about 3 is about my limit normally. If I have a 4th, it's too much.
Yeah, no. It's,
I'm on my 2nd.
I used to. Yeah, I remember a simpler time when I didn't drink coffee. But
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Do you know what? I've given up tea though. I don't drink tea anymore.
I don't do it as much.
I used to always have a cup of tea when I got down to Sussex, and now I just don't want one.
Yep.
I don't know what's happened. I've just gone off it.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. I find I like tea when I need to be soothed. It's when you
want to be calm.
Yeah, when I want to be calm. I have a nice cup of tea.
Maybe it's because of the heat. Maybe when it gets colder again, it'll be good.
Maybe.
With lemon.
Tea and lemon's nice, yeah. Do you know what I used to love when I was a kid? When we used to go to Europe and you'd go to places like Germany or Italy and you'd get tea in a glass with one of those holders. You know, it's like a copper holder with a little ring through it and lemon. And if you ever ask for milk, they bring you hot milk. And we could never get used to it. I'd be like, why haven't they got cold milk? You never understand it. But that was when Europe was cool and travelling was cool, as opposed to what it is now, which is a pain in the bloody neck.
Couldn't drink the water.
And you couldn't drink the water, that's right, yeah. This is the Mike Graham Show. Lee, thanks very much indeed. Good to see you. Thank you for walking us through the old cabinet reshuffle and, of course, the appointment of convicted criminal Louise Haigh, who is going to be the chairman of whatever it's called, the Duchy of Lancaster. Rachel Reeves has gone. Reeves v Bobby Fischer in Reykjavik. What's that about?
Chess.
Well, yeah, I know, but why is there a chess reference? Oh, because she says she's a chess player, isn't she?
Yeah. She's got to play more chess.
She's going off to play more chess, yeah. Wow, excellent. Right, Steve Baker coming up next. We'll talk to him about some of the fraud in government because he'll know a thing or two about why they get away with spending exactly as much money as they do. The breaking news this morning is that Andy Burnham has done what he said he would do yesterday, which is to cut VAT on energy bills, 5% off, basically, £48 a year, 90 pence a day. What are you going to spend it on? That's my question. Let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Morning, I'm Edward Hughes. The Knob of the North met with King Charles and was formally appointed. In his first speech outside 10 Downing Street, he pledged to end years of instability, deliver the biggest changes in the last 40 years, bring back hope, and focus on stable, responsible politics with a left-leaning agenda, emphasising working people, regeneration, and a circuit breaker moment for the country. What a load of bollocks. He quickly unveiled a new cabinet with a clear shift. John Healey as Chancellor, David Miliband as Foreign Secretary, Angela Rayner returning to Housing, Shabana Mahmood staying as Home Secretary, Wes Streeting as Defence Secretary, and Yvette Cooper in Health. Reports describe a purge of some Starmer allies, signalling a more leftward direction. Other headlines include the charging of a 28-year-old man, Joshua Kerry, with the murder of former MP Anne Widdecombe in what police called a targeted attack. Additional stories cover Kevin Keegan's death at 75, various crimes and incidents, and international notes like Ryanair's profit warnings amid global tensions. This rapid leadership transition highlights ongoing volatility in UK politics. Latest Tigers.
Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, convicted criminal Louise Haigh, now in charge of propriety and ethics in the British government. That tells you quite a lot, does it not, about the way that Andy Burnham is setting up his new government. She's the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, and she pleaded guilty to a charge of fraud by false representation in 2014. She told police her work phone had been stolen during a mugging, but it later transpired the handset was in fact still in her possession. Now, there's lots of reasons why you could report that, but I don't understand why you would report it, really, unless you were suffering from some kind of mental illness. Why would you do it? What's the point? Is it an insurance scam? With control of propriety and ethics, convicted criminal Louise Haigh will have oversight of ministerial standards and conflicts of interest, the handling of allegations of misconduct, the work at the Propriety and Ethics Commission. She's also responsible for many public appointments and their propriety. National security is mostly a matter for the Cabinet Office, which Hague will be running. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? Hard to believe. So there was a couple of good messages there. If you don't mind putting them back up, Pooch, so I can read them out. There was one quite long one which looked good. When I saw a tweet saying Angela Rayner had been made housing minister, I thought it was a joke. Who needs satirists, says Craig. Well, satire has indeed died at the altar of Andy Burnham and the Labour government, it has to be said. A super chat from Hevership, Lammy's new job, Teletubby. Yeah, that's our poll for today. At the moment, I think Crash Test Dummy is leading. Why do we even still have a Deputy Prime Minister? Well, I don't think we do at the moment, Cookie Boy, but we'll check it out. At the moment, I don't think we've got one, unless you count Louise Hague, the convicted criminal, who is, of course, in charge of the Duchy of Lancaster. That's what it is. Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. Here's David Lammy's new job, next job. Mastermind host, 34%. Crash Test Dummy, 48%. Argentina manager, 3%. You don't fancy that one. Ambassador to Chagos Islands, 15%. Lord Hermer's gone, which might be good news for those of us who would like to see the Chagos Islands remaining British. We shall see. Let's talk to Steve Baker, though, former Cabinet Office Minister. Steve, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Well, a great summary there of what Andy Burnham has done. I did read somewhere that Louise Hague's motive, if I recall correctly, was to obtain a mobile phone upgrade.
Oh, really? Yeah. So you report it stolen in order to get an upgrade. Why don't you just go into the shop like most people do and say, can I have an upgrade, please? That'll be £29.
It is the officials I feel sorry for. There are serious officials in the Cabinet Office trying to do propriety and ethics and other matters like national security, as you say. And Louise Hague's appointment is like an open goal for ridicule. And I actually feel quite sorry for senior officials trying to do a good job, having to follow her as a minister.
Well, I said this morning, and I know that you've been in the business of running the country, so basically Labour have admitted that for the last 2 years we've had a load of individuals who didn't know what they were doing, and they've all now been swept away, swept out, mostly not to be given other opportunities in Cabinet. And we've now got another load of people coming in who supposedly do know what they're doing.
Well, Mike, I mean, from my point of view, the Labour Party just simply doesn't know what it's doing. It's not all bad. Let me just try, in the interests of decency, to just find some good. One good thing is that Andy Burnham's scrapping digital ID, and I think that is an excellent development. The two appointments, which I think are strokes of genius. One is John Healey, because he, of course, resigned over underfunding of defence. He'll now have to take responsibility for finding that money. Yeah. And sending Ed Miliband overseas, as your earlier callers and you were saying, great idea to get Ed Miliband overseas. It will be open hypocrisy as he travels so far by plane, and just getting him out of the country. Of course, it's not great news on the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero, because his replacement is definitely a true believer. So I'm afraid we're not looking at abundant, cheap industrial energy prices yet, but at least Ed Miliband will be somewhere else.
Well, I mean, that is true, and that is good, and I quite like the idea of encouraging him to be a hypocrite, which is also a bit of a stroke of genius. But what about his first? So his first move was to say that he's going to do away with homelessness, and lots of people have said this morning, oh no, he hasn't said that. He's just said he's going to do away with rough sleeping. Well, you can take your pick out of either of those two things, and he's given us all £48 back, because apparently we're not going to pay VAT anymore on our electricity bills. But we've worked that out at 90 pence a day.
No, a week.
Sorry, 90 pence a week. 90 pence a week. I mean, is he taking the mickey?
Yeah, you couldn't make that one up, could you? I mean, I think it is worth saying it's a Brexit win to be able to take VAT off energy. And there's quite a few Brexit wins which they're clinging on to and trying to have as carve-outs in their EU reset, which of course means subordination. But that is a Brexit win, but it's not worth very much to the public. But this happens time and again, to your point earlier about DWP fraud. Yeah. The state always sees things from the state's point of view. So they give us 90 pence a week back by taking the VAT down. But they're looking at it from the government's point of view, which is the enormous sum that it costs the government to do that on all of our bills. It would be nice if ministers, as representatives of the public, looked at things from the public's point of view, and that means we need much more abundant and lower priced electricity, which means not, for example, paying wind turbines to produce energy we can't use. So, it is time for a bit more common sense on energy policy, but it's all terribly complicated and we're terribly bound in by law. So, yeah, I mean, that is a good example of why the state gets things wrong. It looks at things from its own point of view.
Yes. But the numbers that Lee was telling us about there with the Department of Work and Pensions are massive, aren't they? I mean, hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds just going missing. How does that happen? And how is a government department able to get away with not being properly audited?
Well, you and your listeners are right to be outraged about it. These are enormous sums of money to go missing. But if you're asking me sort of dispassionately, how does it happen? An enormous department with very complicated systems. They also made a big administrative error over, I think it was carers allowance. So, these things happen within departments. And unfortunately, when you're spending so much money with so many people, small error by a few people, one or a few people, can become a really huge problem. So what do you do? I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm a libertarian. I would like government to be very, very much smaller. I would like welfare to be delivered in different ways, more locally, more mutually, to try and deal with these problems of having an enormous centralised department whose small mistakes can become incredibly expensive. But we're a long way away from government departments doing any of that. As to how they get away with it, well, there'll be stiff letters written internally. I expect the Treasury's written a stiff letter to the permanent secretary of the department, reminding him of responsibilities and so on. But, it is a bit of a hospital pass to be the permanent secretary of that department, because you are responsible for audit and propriety and so forth. And when it's as big as it is and as complicated as it is, it's a Herculean task to get fraud down at all, which is not to excuse it. It's just those are the numbers.
I think a lot of people, though, watching this and watching your explanation there, will be asking the question, yeah, but if I was in, a private business, a regular sort of commercial operation, you get called in by the chief exec, you get told, this is outrageous, this is out of control, what are you doing about it? What, methods are you putting in place to recover the money, or what are you going to do to stop people from taking the money? And something would be done. Whereas it seems to me that this continually going on. I think he said it was 1988 was the last time they actually had properly audited accounts. I mean, that's a very long time ago. And you just kind of go, well, do people just shove the paper from side to side and, put it over there and then come back over around back this way? You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't seem realistic.
Well, Mike, I'm back in business and I'm accounting to the penny and worrying every quarter about my VAT return and all the rest of it. It's all got to be absolutely right, because we all know, those of us in the private sector, that the state would come down on us like an absolute ton of bricks if we made mistakes. And yet, you're right, the state does appear to be treated differently. And I'm afraid it's true. The state and the private sector are two different categories of what people do, human action, and they are treated differently. And yeah, there will be stiff letters, there'll be select committee appearances, there'll be assurances given and all the rest of it. And on rolls the waste of millions and actually billions of pounds. And that is why the state should be made smaller. And so when I hear Labour politicians calling for the active state and putting all their faith in more and bigger government and greater amounts of devolution, I think, well, you'll get more waste and error and fraud as you do it. And it's time really for the public to demand better of their politicians. But really, I suppose my main point is it is inevitable that a giant department spending so much money will waste and lose so much of it when the incentives are different for the state compared to the private sector. But you're right, it is different and it's not right.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is probably a very simple question, which has a very complicated answer, but I mean, how would you approach fixing it, or at least getting it into line with, because I know that, private companies waste money as well. The bigger they are, probably the harder it is to track everything down. But what could you do? What don't they do they should be doing?
Well, a lot of it is culture. I mean, there is a line in the reports there about leadership failures. But the culture of leaders within the civil service is extremely important. You and I have, I'm sure, talked previously about the time that they waste on stuff generally called woke. It's important that we're kind to one another, that nobody's judged at work for their identity and all the rest of it. It's absolutely vital. There should be a professional working environment, but one doesn't really need to go much beyond insisting on a professional working environment, and yet they spend days doing training on these things. What really needs to happen is a culture that absolutely values every penny which has been taken by taxpayers, from taxpayers by force, to value every single penny and to know that taking that money is denying the taxpayer the opportunity to spend it for themselves, and having a culture which absolutely values where it goes, which absolutely rejects fraud and error, and which doesn't accept as a norm that millions and even billions of pounds get wasted. So that's the first point, culture and leadership. The second point, I'm afraid, is that the government and the National Audit Office needs to start looking at how the private sector would deal with these problems and adopt some of those techniques. So I'm afraid sometimes people might need to be sacked or moved aside or whatever. There's not much point trying to recover the money from people within the civil service because the sums are too large. So, yeah, it's time for a real rethink. There is something called the Effective Governance Forum, who I've occasionally worked with, and they try to bring the techniques of the private sector to bear on government. It will be interesting to see what they say.
Yeah, indeed. We've been talking about Angela Rayner this morning. She's now housing secretary again. She's got quite a few houses, which is all good. I don't know whether she's sorted out her council tax stroke stamp duty problem. Again, somebody who seems to be taking an awfully long time to settle it. If I do something wrong and HMRC find out, they're usually down on me, within about 2 days, and you haven't paid them in 3 days, you're paying them an absolute fortune. But she apparently promised 1.5 million homes in 5 years when they first came in, which works out 824 new homes completed per day, says Vincent. That's 34 houses an hour, which even for her is kind of ambitious, isn't it?
Yeah, I did see that Angela Rayner's tax affairs have now been settled. So, that is something from which, most of us would be able to move on. But yeah, they will fail on housing, and it's very much the public's detriment. We are desperately in need of housing, particularly for the young. Family formation is collapsing in our country because people can't afford homes. Forgive me, the hay fever's got me.
No, that's all right. I've been suffering from it massively this year as well. I don't know what's going on this year, but for some reason, because I haven't had hay fever since I was about 12 or something, but this year I can't stop getting it.
We grow into it. My wife, a GP, was telling me. I kept saying, I've got a summer cold, and she kept saying, no, you've grown into hay fever. But it's one of those things.
Absolutely right. And we've been talking as well about fridge manufacturers, because we've just been recounting fridges. So I've been asked by Pooch to ask every guest we got on today, what make is your fridge?
I think it's a John Lewis special, to be honest. I'd have
really?
to go and check, Mike. I wish I'd known you were going to ask. But it is not a Smeg. The name is too silly.
It is too silly, absolutely right. So, as far as the whole business of government goes, I'm not particularly optimistic that this one's going to be any better than the last one, to be honest. But I wanted to ask you before I let you go about CPAC, because we saw you down at CPAC last week, down in Greenwich. What did you make of it all, and what did you take from it?
Well, I thought the session on digital tyranny was really excellent. I enjoyed being there, and I enjoyed what Freddie New had to say. I think it's really important that people think carefully about what's coming, which is total surveillance in combination with AI. Decisions being taken by AI, people might be under suspicion because they've been monitored automatically, and decisions about who they are and what they're trying to do taken automatically. It's really serious. Have a look at Big Brother Watch to see what's coming.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important that the centre-right is reinvigorating itself. And it's really important that was a cross-party event. Nigel Farage was there, and Conservative figures like Jacob Rees-Mogg and Liz Truss, of course, who initiated it. So that's really important that people are coming together. But we do have to inspire people to get involved. We really need a movement which changes the direction of this country. Labour kind of won through a massive shrug of indifference from the nation. That's not going to get us through the days which lie ahead. So it's for political leaders to create a bit of inspiration for the public, and we need to encourage the public to get involved and to demand something different from their politicians. I think CPAC's part of that process. We've got a long way to go.
Yeah, indeed. Steve, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Steve Baker there, reporting in to us from his new position as a think tank. He's running a think tank, of course, himself. He was down at CPAC, which we were as well. Some of you would have seen some of the reports that we did. Looking around the papers this morning, there's not much else because, whenever something like this happens, they all get so excited in Fleet Street about the idea of a new government and a cabinet reshuffle that pretty much takes the oxygen out of everything else completely. We need guests of all sides or it just becomes an echo chamber of irrelevance, says Barry. Are you talking about Barry Island or are you talking about the show? I don't know. Difficult to know, isn't it?
Some people don't like Steve, and we were just saying that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you don't have to like everybody, because if you liked everybody, the world would be a really, really boring place, wouldn't it? Imagine if you walked out into the street every day and you liked everyone. And everyone that you saw on the street was great. And everyone that you saw on the train was brilliant. And everybody that you found at the football match was somebody that you absolutely and utterly agreed with. It'd be pretty boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine getting on a bus and finding a monkey on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be pretty weird, wouldn't it?
That's happened to Marilyn.
I wonder if that's happened to Marilyn. Marilyn Halls is here, I think. Isn't she? Marilyn, very good morning to you, darling.
Oh, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. Get that focus sorted out. Imagine a monkey on a bus in Mill Hill.
Well,
Sounds like the start of a Benny Hill joke, doesn't it?
Well, when I was teaching, we took a group of kids to the local zoo, and when we came back, I thought, what's that noise in that kid's bag? And he literally pick up a penguin. He literally did.
No, really?
In his backpack. Yeah,
that's
we had to go all the way
amazing.
back to the zoo to take the penguin back.
How old were the kids?
8 years old.
That's fantastic. He should. That boy has got a great future, whoever he is. I mean, it would be great if he was watching, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'm the boy that nicked the penguin.
We'll go to the zoo. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Well, so how did you get it back to the zoo then? What did you do?
We had to go back to the coach and take it back.
So what? You turned up back at the zoo when we got this. Sorry, we seem to have accidentally removed one of your penguins. That's brilliant. That's a great story. I love that. Yeah, absolutely extraordinary stuff. I mean, I'm not surprised. I will not be surprised if you tell me that you're not particularly looking forward to the new run by a convicted criminal government, Louise Haigh, who can't seem to work out what to do with her own phone.
I think he's just. It feels. I thank God Lammy's gone, and I'm sorry, Pooch. I'm sorry for you, Pooch, that Rachel Reeves is gone. I know she was subject of distraction.
You see that from RFM? I'd like to find Marilyn on a bus. That'd be nice. I'm not quite sure what he means by that. But anyway, carry on. I mean, I'm glad she's gone. I rejoiced when Lammy had gone. I thought, oh my goodness! But it was very funny last night because I heard Ed Miliband was then Foreign Secretary. Yeah, keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. I saw Henry Bolton. Henry Bolton put a thing out on X saying, "Oh, Ed Miliband, Foreign Secretary, I need a drink." I said, "Oh, don't worry, I'm on my second bottle." Yeah, absolutely right. Well, I gave up. I mean, I sort of had one eye on it at sort of 4 o'clock, 4 to 5, and then it was going so slowly that I just thought, "What's this?" The monkey on the bus goes, "Ooh, ooh, 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 ooh." Very good. I see what you did there. All day long. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but it went on right into the middle of the night, and I went out, came home, it was still going on. I woke up this morning, it was still going on. Ridiculous.
Yeah, no, we got to live with this. I mean, now the World Cup's finished and tennis is finished. Now we got politics. It's going to. Oh my God, isn't it? It's a yawning bore after a while. And the guy from GB News, Christopher Hope, poor guy.
I know.
Off after his marathon reporting, but Henry Bolton, go back to him. I said, I'm on my second bottle, and I went, oh my God, I'm on Mike Graham first thing in the morning. He went, don't worry, he won't notice.
Yeah, well, thank you, Henry, for that. What about Mrs. Burnham, right? Because we've got some footage here of not Angela Rayner, of Andy Burnham arriving in Downing Street yesterday with his missus. Have a look. There's something very weird about politicians, isn't there? I mean, what are they all cheering for? You know, he's only a bloke who's going to be running the country into the ground. You know, he's got his wife there, Marie-France Van Heel, who looks a bit dodgy to me. I'm not sure. She's wearing an £850 dress, apparently designed by Victoria Beckham, right? It doesn't fit her either.
Well, no, but I don't. I got really quite. I was. It's funny you should raise that. We're obviously like-minded, because I was going to sort of like lighten up about the politics to say, why do women have to be so awful about other women? I first saw the dress and I thought, oh, I quite like that. That's quite nice. It sort of suits her, you know. And then you saw on X all these women going, oh, she needs to stop eating so many Manchester pies. And I thought, ooh, that's a bit nasty. And then somebody else wrote in, women, this is women, oh, you had 850 quid to spend and you bought that dress with your figure. I thought, this is horrible. And then there was another one saying, this other woman, she wrote 3 paragraphs on why she should not have worn this dress. She was obviously a member of the fashion police, this woman. And she said, you don't wear a dress like that when you've got thunder thighs and a big bum. And oh my life. I mean, do you know,
but that's what happens, isn't it? But I mean, you know, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. You know, I mean, people have a go at the way I look all the time, you know, and they're not even watching the show. It's just in the street, you know. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's if you're going to be in the public eye, I'm afraid. I mean, Andy Burnham puts himself out there as this kind of, you know, ordinary bloke from North, you know, here I am, and he turns around and smiles. He's that sort of insipid smile that he's got, where he just kind of, you know, he just looks like that all the time. You know, it doesn't really matter what you say, and he just keeps smiling like that. And you just go, what, you know, if you're going to put yourself out there, I'm afraid you're going to have to be able to put up with it.
Well, she's got to go some distance, hasn't she, to even come into the same ranking as Angela Rayner. I mean, who has absolutely zero dress sense whatsoever. So I just think there's 2 people I would hate to be married to. I'd hate to be the wife of a prime minister.
Yeah.
I'd hate to be the wife of a vicar, because you can never do anything right. You can never be naughty, can you? You can never sort of have a little bit of fun on the side. You can't go on plonk and get pissed like I do.
No, you certainly couldn't do that. But this is the trouble.
Yvette Cooper, is there anything she's ever done that she's good at?
No.
I mean, it's like, why didn't she go? She's useless. Everything.
Yeah, I know. Well, she's been Home Secretary, I think, which she was rubbish at. She was Foreign Secretary, which she didn't seem to do anything when she was Foreign Secretary at all. Never spoke, never said a word, right? And now, what have they given her now? A Health Secretary. I mean, I suppose it's better than giving it to old fag Ash Lil, Angela Rayner, you know, but you know, that wouldn't have worked at all. But Yvette Cooper just doesn't speak. Well, I think it's even more ridiculous is Wes Streeting doing defence. What's that all about? He likes a man in a uniform.
I want to know, because it hasn't been yet released, has it? I want to know who's going to be the Attorney General.
Oh, no, it's just come out. It's Rachel's sister. It's Ellie Reeves. And I don't actually, I keep... she was a barrister, apparently. Was she? Yeah. I was going to check whether or not she's actually... in the comments. She's actually... Yeah, well, I'm going to check myself just to make sure. But yeah, you know, the weirdest thing about Ellie Reeves is that when she speaks, she sounds exactly like Rachel Reeves.
I've got a picture of Rachel.
Maybe it is Rachel Reeves.
Here's a picture of Rachel Reeves.
And here's Ellie Reeves. Hold on.
Let's have a look. There's Ellie Reeves, yeah. They look quite similar, don't they? Quite similar.
I actually haven't seen that. That's what I want to see, you know. But there's no new names. It's just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, isn't it? Really, I mean, there's not, you know. And then I mean, that's it. See, yeah, rough sleepers. I mean, what's going on in Manchester? He's never. Oh, is that her?
Oh yeah, that's Ellie Reeves. Yeah, but she sounds uncannily like her sister.
Well, Rachel Reeves' voice absolutely winds me up, quite honestly. I can't stand the way she speaks. I mean, it's just awful. But I mean, his mandate has to be, doesn't it, when one of his man comes, smash the gangs. He didn't mention anything, did he, about...
He said nothing about immigration, did he?
Not at all. Not at all. Because he wants to welcome more in, doesn't he?
Shabana Mahmood, right, said just before this change of government that she wants to bring more refugees in. Right?
Exactly. I mean, I just don't understand what the. And then, they're now going to have many, many more council houses. Whoopee dee. And who's going to be living in them, I wonder? We won't be getting the veterans off the street because, Mohammed will be, with his 18 kids, will be living in one, won't he?
That's right. Well, we've already been told, by the way, that he launched this bid to get rid of rough sleeping in Manchester, which hasn't worked at all. So he's now going to roll out the "I can't make it work" plan to the whole of the country. Everything that he's screwed up in Manchester, he's going to screw up everywhere else.
But the other thing is, he wants to bring Manchester number 10 up to the north, which the Manchester number 10 hasn't even been built. So, and they're thinking of putting it on a brownfield site, yeah. By the time, he might be out of power in 2.5 years. By the time the planning has gone through and the foundations of the building are put down, it might not be needed. I mean, what a waste of money! Truly, what a waste of money. Crazy.
Well, that's the trouble, isn't it? I mean, everyone is beginning to wonder as well whether or not these people that he's put in, because he got rid of all of the sort of the dead wood, if you like. Rachel Reeves gone, David Lammy gone, Lord Hermit gone, Steve Reed gone, Darren Jones gone. Actually, he might be building himself up to have an election, which I still think he's going to do.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I suppose it depends where he is in the polls after this rejuvenation, doesn't it?
Right.
I mean, if he's suddenly got a stonking lead over reform, maybe he will. But I don't know. It's a big risk, I think. Anyway, I really do think it's a risk.
Well, I'm assuming you're going to be celebrating this afternoon with your newly found wealth, because he's taking VAT off the electricity bills this morning. So you're going to get 90p extra a week to spend. What are you going to do with it?
That'll pay for the ice to go in my chilled wine.
Yes. Do you know what I drank the other night? In fact, when England were playing the other night, was it Wednesday? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I decided, I quite fancy some pina coladas, so I took out that very nice Bermudan dark rum that you gave me from Bermuda, and I went out and bought some pineapple juice and some limes and some coconut cream and made a load of pina coladas before the game. So I didn't actually care that they lost in the end.
Oh, why wasn't I invited? That's not on, is it? That's just not.
Well, you don't live anywhere near me. That's why you weren't invited. Also, I thought I'd never get rid of you if I invited you into the house. You'd still be there now.
The other thing is, you should have invited me because my uncle was Sir Alf Ramsey.
No. Was he really?
Yes.
Really? You've never said that before. Your uncle was Alf Ramsey. Well, it's not the sort of thing I ask people normally. I mean, I don't normally go up to people and go, "Was your uncle Alf Ramsey?" Right?
But you mentioned football. And you mentioned football. Because I come from Southampton and we used to live near the Dell, as it was then, and Uncle Alf used to come in on Saturday after.
Oh, my goodness. You should talk to Mark Littlewood. He's a big Southampton fan.
I know he is. And I've put that out about, we're Southampton as well, or I'm Southampton. The boys are, oh my golly, my sons are absolutely avid supporters of him. But he used to come day after a match. And Uncle Elf, and then he became Sir Alf Ramsey. And anyone less likely was his wife, Lady Rita. Oh.
Right. Were you not a fan of hers?
Well, she was pretty basic.
Basic. Do you remember that encounter that Kate Moss had with some air stewardess on EasyJet, and she referred to her as a basic bitch? I don't know what that means, but it doesn't seem nice. Anyway, there we are. Now, we've been also having a very long conversation about people's walking style. I just want you to have a look, not just about her dress sense, but this is convicted criminal, as I like to call her, Louise Haigh, right, walking up the steps, up the street in Downing Street. Have a look at the way she's walking and tell me what's going on.
With us, we've got another arrival here in Downing Street, and it is Louise Haigh, a key member in many ways, Beth, of the Andy Burnham operation.
What's going on with the arms there? It's kind of like...
I actually thought...
So you know when a cat gets up on its hind legs and does that?
I thought she was going to break into some sort of dance. But, I mean, I don't understand these journalists going, what do you think? What are you going to be? Have you got a job as Home Secretary?
Yeah, it's like, where are you going? Where do you think she's bloody going, you moron?
I don't know where I'm going. I'm not going to jail, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Well, she should be, convicted criminal, as we say. In fact, the other one we're doing today is we've decided that Angela Rayner looks a bit like a fridge. So we're asking everyone what sort of fridge you've got. What make of fridge have you got?
Darling, I have a Bosch.
A Bosch, of course you do. Bosch.
Well, it makes better ice cubes. It chills the wine better.
Does it have an ice making machine capability so you can just press a button? Oh, very nice. It's very posh, isn't it?
And that cascades the ice. I've decided if I put more ice in my wine, I stay sober longer.
That's a good move, actually. Yeah, 10 minutes longer. Yeah, 10 minutes longer. Pooch said. Yeah. Also, but don't. This is a good question because people will want to know the answer to this. When you put ice in the wine, right, and then you put the wine down on a coaster, say, how do you stop it from sticking to the coaster? Because the condensation drips down the glass, and you lift up the coaster, and it's always stuck to it.
No, not in my case because I never put the glass.
You never put it down. Okay, that's the answer. Very good. That's
another one.
The what?
Capillary effect.
Capillary effect. I've got some new. I got these from William Yarwood, by the way, who's coming on later. Big Willie.
What's that?
I've got some Taxpayers Alliance. I'd like to find Marilyn on a bus, said RMF. Some Taxpayers Alliance coasters, beer mats. So we're going to have those because they would actually absorb the condensation, wouldn't it? The capillary effect. Whereas if you've got something which is a bit harder, like this one, for example, which has got heron, it sticks to that.
Oh, the heron.
That's the heron, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I put my glass down because that does annoy me. And then you have to slide it off the coaster.
Yeah, and or you have to wipe it or something. Yeah, it's annoying. It's really annoying. Right, so anyway, problem there is smooth coasters, Mike, says Chris. Yeah, I know that. I know, but that's what I'm saying. But I wondered if there might be some quick way of dealing with it, but apparently there isn't. Marilyn, good to see you, darling.
A quick shout for the police and the counter police with Anne Willies, don't we?
Yes, well, there's a charge now, so well, unfortunately, and I know people will say, well, why can't you talk about it? Well, we can't really talk about it because it's now an active case, which means we could be found in contempt of court, which even though we're not governed by Ofcom rules, we are governed by the law, you know.
But we're creeping forward, so, you know, no, none of that is absolutely right. There's more to it than meets the eye, I'm sure. But I mean, it's he's in the magistrates' courts this morning, so it's going to be really interesting to see how many turn up and outside.
Yes, we will see, but we'll keep tabs on it anyway and report in as we can. Marilyn, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Enjoy the rest of the day. She's got a Bosch, of course.
I'll probably unplug soon, but I've got the little people from Bermuda over.
Oh, very nice, excellent, lovely.
Very
Hope they're enjoying it. Hope they're enjoying the new government. Marilyn Hall's there giving us the lowdown on all manner of things, including the fact that she has a Bosch fridge. We'll be asking everyone that we get on. I wonder what William Yarwood's fridge will be like.
Yeah.
Hey, that'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
He'll have a chest deep freezer.
We can't say too much. Now, coming up, a bit of a special treat for you now because we're going to be speaking to David Binns, who happens to be Charlotte's dad. But should we do some news first? Or is it too late? No, let's do some news. Edward Hughes, go on.
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes. The Knob of the North met with King Charles and was formally appointed. In his first speech outside 10 Downing Street, he pledged to end years of instability, deliver the biggest changes in the last 40 years, bring back hope, and focus on stable, responsible politics with a left-leaning agenda, emphasising working people, regeneration, and a circuit breaker moment for the country. What a load of bollocks. He quickly unveiled a new cabinet with a clear shift. John Healey as Chancellor, David Miliband as Foreign Secretary, Angela Rayner returning to Housing, Shabana Mahmood staying as Home Secretary, Wes Streeting as Defence Secretary, and Yvette Cooper in Health. Reports describe a purge of some Starmer allies, signalling a more leftward direction. Other headlines include the charging of a 28-year-old man, Joshua Kerry, with the murder of former MP Anne Widdecombe in what police called a targeted attack. Additional stories cover Kevin Keegan's death at 75, various crimes and incidents, and international notes like Ryanair's profit warnings amid global tensions. This rapid leadership transition highlights ongoing volatility in UK politics. Latest Tigers.
My affiliation with the club goes back a lot further. My father was a Geordie, so I heard about a lot of players that he used to come and watch.
If people have enjoyed themselves half as much as I have today, then
we're all happy. Tremendous, sick, it's fairy tale stuff.
Oh, is this it? What a magnificent goal! That's what the Geordie fans...
I can remember it vividly. I've played at Liverpool. I've played in the European Cup final in Rome. I've played at Wembley. I've played in the Maracana. Never anything like it. The noise.
Keegan's there, and Keegan has scored. That's quite remarkable.
St James's Park. If you've only got one ground to go to St James's. That's the cathedral, really. That is the religion here.
For these supporters who are just unbelievable, it's what they deserve. They're back where they belong, and so it's got a lovely finish to it, really. We've got the best fans in the country, and it's those people who are going to turn this club around. There's no job in football I've ever wanted. This is the only job I've ever wanted.
What do these people want? And of course, having played there for 2 years, I knew exactly what they wanted, and it's quite a simple thing, really. They work hard all week, and they want to see a team in black and white give everything they've got to win a football match and entertain them.
Now, David Kelly. It's all over now. David Kelly and Keegan celebrates, and Newcastle United are champions of the First Division now. Special K as a player. It's King Kevin now as a manager.
It's my job, very briefly, on behalf of what I consider to be a team worthy of your support. We've always known that we've had the best supporters. I think the one thing we needed was a team to match you. It's not easy when you're as great as you people are.
The club is starting to go where it belongs. I want to bring some characters here as well as players. I want to get a new feeling about the whole club. I mean, we can only really go one way.
I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
I hope I'm always their friend. I can tell them one thing, they'll always be my friends up here.
Kevin Keegan who is on the front page of The Sun, remembered, of course, King Kev, 1951-2026, died yesterday at the age of 75. And loads of really, really lovely tributes to him inside the paper, where they've got Jamie Carragher, one of the greatest players this country's produced. My hero, my manager, my friend, sleep easy boss, Alan Shearer. It was a privilege and a joy to play for him, says Gareth Southgate. Tony Blair, fantastic spirit. Kevin inspired everybody he met. He didn't say whether he watched him play. But let's talk now, though, to Charlotte's dad, otherwise known as, of course, David Binns. David, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Good to see you. You're a big fan of Kevin Keegan. I know you wanted to pay tribute to him. Tell us about your kind of your knowledge of him. I think you've met him a couple of times. What do you want to tell us?
Yeah, I can only speak as an avid football fan from the 1970s. I did bump into him when I was about 12-year-old. Liverpool, who he played for, came to play my team Burnley at Turf Moor, FA Cup match. And I remember after the during the match, it was incredible. The crowd, there was a buzz. Every time Keegan got the ball, there was a buzz in the crowd. And it was excitement all the way. The only thing that didn't happen that day was any goals. It was a goalless draw. After the match, as we used to do, there's my brother Mick and another pal. We used to take our autograph books and scrapbooks to the players' entrance. And I remember hoping to get a few autographs from the Liverpool team, and the Liverpool team just walked straight past and onto the coach. So they ignored us completely. And then Kevin came out. He was the last one, and he was mobbed by about 100 young fellas, and he signed every last autograph.
Did he? Right.
Amazing.
That's nice, isn't it? And I mean, he was one of the only, I think, 4 players, English players, to ever win the Ballon d'Or, and he won it twice, which is pretty extraordinary. 63 England caps, captained the country 31 times as well, and he seemed to be a very likeable character, didn't he?
Yes, certainly did. He won the Ballon d'Or, like I say, twice. Once with Liverpool in '78, and then the year after he'd made the move, which was unusual at the time anyway. One of the few Englishmen to go and play abroad. He went to Hamburg, and he embraced the culture of Germany. He learnt the language, and he was conducting his interviews in German, which went down very well with the German people, as you can imagine. But it was very, very brave man, a leader, inspirational.
Fantastic player as well, as you say. Whenever he got the ball, everyone was just like, what's he going to do? And he had a particularly, I thought, very individual style of running. And he was, when I was growing up watching him play, he kind of, for me, he was one of those players that just ran in completely unusual directions all the time. You know, you suddenly go, what's he going over there for? And it would be, you know, he didn't play like anybody else.
Yeah, it was like a pinball machine. The ball was. He used to do the 1-2s, as they call it, the wall pass, and it linked up well. There was a guy called John Toshak. He was the Welsh national. I don't know if you remember him, but he was like 6 foot striker, and Keegan was a little bit shorter. I think it was about 5'8", but the in tandem together at Liverpool, particularly where they were pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go, my sister was a big Liverpool fan back in the sort of 70s, and we used to go to Anfield quite a bit, but that was more of the kind of Steve Highway era, you know, with Brian Hall and all that kind of, all those kind of people. And I think Ron Yates was still playing at one point though. Yeah,
certainly some good players at that time, and Keegan just was like the icing on the cake. Bill Shankly had built the team around the players you mentioned there, and I think it was a masterstroke bringing in Keegan from Scunthorpe United, I believe. So he came from nowhere, and then it was suddenly. Yeah,
and so what would be your kind of abiding memory of Keegan? A particular match or a particular goal that he scored?
Well, it was just his kindness, really. In the times I witnessed him signing all those autographs, he wasn't, getting too big for his boots. He was happy to, go back to his roots, if you will, and remember his roots. Signing up for all those young lads. As a 12-year-old, it's over 50 years ago now, and I've never forgotten that moment. How kind he was, and took the time out to speak to people.
Sure.
And I think some of the tributes to him online and in the press this last day or two, that's a theme that runs through it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a massive hero in Newcastle, wasn't he? I mean, they really loved him there.
Yeah, I was just reading something again, and I didn't just realise, although Kevin was born in South Yorkshire, Doncaster, his family, his granddad and parents were from Newcastle. I think they went to Newcastle. They came in and lived there, and they were massive supporters of Newcastle. I didn't just realise that.
Yes, no, exactly right. And I mean, a great sort of ambassador for English football, really, wasn't he?
It was, yeah, and I'll say particularly when it took the move to Germany, and as I say, they're still, again, there's tributes coming in from Germany yesterday, saying how much and how sadly he'll be missed, and what an impact he had on their game in that country. Yeah, absolutely right. Well, listen, great to talk to you, and really interesting to hear your memories of him as well, David. So thank you very much for doing that for us.
And thank you for Charlotte.
And thank you for giving us Charlotte, by the way. Yeah, as Pooch points out. I don't know if you're. I mean, I suppose you are responsible in some way for it, but I'm going to ask you what fridge you've got, by the way, because I've been asking everybody what sort of fridge you've got. Do you know?
Boring, yeah, Lenovo.
Lenovo, okay. Because somebody just asked me. I don't actually know what my fridge manufacturer is, because it's one. I've got two. I've got like a freezer and a fridge next to each other, and it might be Lenovo actually. It could be the same. Good to see you, David Binns. Thank you very much indeed. Charlotte's dad joining in the fun and talking to us there today. The sad death of Kevin Keegan, who died yesterday, diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in January of this year. 2-time Ballon d'Or winner, as we said, 63 England caps, captained his country 31 times, played for Hamburg, Liverpool, Southampton, Newcastle, and Fulham in the end as well. Somebody's asked me what your fridge is, Pooch, because we haven't asked you that yet.
I'm the same as you. I've got a few fridges and I don't know what they are.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Who knows? But we will be finding out. Coming up, William Clouston's going to be here. Who's running in the Clacton by-election against Nigel Farage, one of the few proper politicians actually decided to join in the race. Esther McVeigh's here as well. She's going to join us in the studio. We'll find out from her what she makes of the new suit running Downing Street, and of course convicted criminal Louise Haigh. We call her that only because the Times keeps referring to George Cottrell as a convicted criminal. For some reason, they don't refer to her as a convicted criminal, which seems a bit unfair, doesn't it? Let's see. What are we doing? And William, are we speaking to William?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, great. William Clouston, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good to see you. Good to be here.
Good to see you. I know you're popping in, I think, next week, but I thought it might be better to speak to you this week as well, just because it's Clacton by-elections coming up not long from now, next month, next month. Tell us why you decided to stand.
Well, I decided to stand because the establishment parties are basically guilty of cowardice. It is a proper election. You've got to remember that the leader of the party that's leading the polls in Britain at the moment called this election proper election. You may not agree with it, but it's a proper election, and you can't bottle it and discredit the whole thing by just not standing. I think the truth is they're scared that Farage beats them. He probably would, and I think that's the reason they do it. And secondly, actually, I also don't like, British people like a joke, don't we? But bin face, a lot of progressives, they'd love bin face to beat Farage. Again, I don't think that's going to happen for various reasons, but they'd love it to happen. Volunteers are turning up and, going down to Clacton to try and make that happen. But look, this isn't a joke, we like a joke, Mike, but this is not a joke. Clacton, the voters of Clacton are telling me, many of them, that they don't want this. It brings ridicule on the town, and I think we can do better. So look, I'm not from Clacton, I'm from Northumberland. Everyone knows that, but I'm going to do my best. We've got a good few weeks, get right round, and give them a good alternative.
And the thing is, they when you say they don't want it, did they understand why Farage has done it though? Because I do. I think he was hopeful that this would put an end to these ridiculous attacks. One of the reasons we're making a thing of Louise Haigh being a convicted criminal is that, the Sunday Times and the Times has been relentlessly kind of going after Farage and going after reform. And whether you agree with that or not, surely they should be treating everybody the same. And they keep referring to George Cottrell as a convicted criminal. And they've even got a podcast called The Convicted Criminal Behind Farage, and yet Louise Haigh gets appointed to one of the most important jobs in the country, and the Times makes no reference to it at all.
No, it's totally biased. Look, and I know that the public can see through this. They know they're just attacking people they don't like. They don't want any change. They want things to go on as they are. So they'll attack him. But I think, the problem for Nigel Farage is that he can call this election, but it doesn't change any of the detail on the Standards Inquiry and the parliamentary commissioners and all the rest of it. In a sense, it's a pretense that the public can decide this. The rules will decide it, but the press have been treating people unfairly like this for years and years and years. I think people will see through it. But just get back to the election. Honestly, a lot of people in Clacton, I've spoken to them. They don't want this on the town. It's not a joke. Bin face. It's not. He's a novelty candidate, but you can't put that on the town. We've got to do better. And it's got to be a better election. And I've challenged Nigel to a debate in good faith. Obviously, I've known him for many years. We discuss things, about the future of the country. He wants to be Prime Minister. Let's talk about it. Let's do it. Bring it on and make it a proper election. Make it worth voting.
Yes, because I think the shame of the by-election is the fact that the main parties aren't standing. I don't think it's Nigel Farage's fault for calling the election. He's entitled to do that if he wants to. And also, I don't really believe that Binface is in any way not a serious candidate, because he's actually this kind of anti-right-winger who's not at all anything other than part of the kind of left-wing establishment. He works for the BBC. He used to do Have I Got News For You comedy writing. He's got a degree from Oxford or something like that. He's not exactly what you might call a screaming Lord Such type figure, is he?
No, but a lot of people, genuinely are rooting for him. I suspect the BBC staff are. I suspect a lot of the progressives up and down the country are. They'd love it, Mike. They'd love Binface to win in Clacton, but it's not good for Clacton. It's not going to solve the problems of the town. There's thousands of people are on the housing waiting list in tendering, and I think we've got to do better. So I don't want. we've been against Binface in the London mayoral. We beat him there. I think we've beaten Binface at least twice in parliamentary by-elections and mayoral elections. We've beaten Reform actually once in a parliamentary by-election. So, I wouldn't underestimate us, but I think Nigel's in a very strong position. Obviously, he's the incumbent and he's got a lot of support, but I want it to be a decent, proper election. I don't want the people of Clacton, not treated seriously. And that's what the Tories and the Labour Party, the Lib Dems, the Greens have done. Yeah, well, that's what I think. And what about your own kind of chances? Have you done any polling down there for the SDP? Look, you've got a tiny window to get involved, and we're working very hard. We're going to have a large action day on Saturday, get everyone together. We'll do that every Saturday until the election, and we'll do our very best. But I'm realistic. I think I want to get as many votes as possible, and there are a lot of votes. If you want a serious programme, just take a look at us. I think we argue rightly that most people agree with the SDP on most things. That's just a fact. So if we can get our programme and we can get around Clacton, I think we do very well. I'm not going to make predictions we can win. I think Nigel's very well established there, and I think he's got easily the biggest single vote in that election. But who knows? Because there are a lot of people, a lot of Tory voters and the others who don't have anyone to vote for, so maybe have a look. But I'll do my best, Mike, for the cause of democracy. Yes, well, I think that's a very noble one. And what about Mr. Farage? Has he spoken to you at all? Has he welcomed you joining the race? No, I haven't heard anything from Nigel. But I do have friends. I've got friends in Reform, quite senior level, and the Tories, as you know, and even Blue Labour, people in the Labour Party. So I have friends across the parties, and obviously they've got my number if they want to ring and organise a debate. But we'll do our best. Honestly, we've got to make it a decent election and not a joke for the town of Clacton. Okay. William, good to see you, and we'll see you next week properly for a discussion of all manner of things. Thank you very much indeed. William Clouston there with his news that he is, of course, running in the Clacton by-election alongside quite a lot of other joke candidates. I mean, it is all a bit mad, but we'll come back to that in a moment. We've got, of course, now Esther McVeigh, who's just joined us. Hello, very good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
I haven't seen you for a while.
Well, I'm here.
I know you've been busy. I know you're here now.
I'm here. I'm here with my coffee.
Lots to talk about. Yeah, 5 cups a day, apparently, according to the papers this morning, is good for you.
Oh.
Which is the first time I've ever read that.
Yeah.
I can't do more than about 3. But let's talk about, first of all, Clacton, because there's William Clouston there saying he's going to run for the SDP. Doesn't expect really to get much out of it, I don't think, probably quite rightly. But do you not think that it is a bit of an insult to the people of Clacton that the Tories and Labour and the Lib Dems are not running? Because they've a lot of people are going, oh yeah, but now Nigel looks stupid because he's called an election and nobody's really running against him. But doesn't it make the system look stupid? For me, anyway.
They took the view that Nigel Farage had gone for this by-election, called it, and they were saying it's because he was trying to preempt the Standards Commissioner's report and have to go to a by-election, force it through a recall vote. So they said, well, we're not therefore going to stand against him because we'll stand against him when he actually goes for the second one on the recall. I think it was a very tactical move by Nigel Farage. It was probably a very clever move by Nigel Farage because the odds are this report was going to come back. Yeah. He was going to get a recall. And I wondered if he thought, well, look, I had a general election in 2024, I've won. I've called one now, I've won. And in a way, wore the public down, his constituents out thinking, we don't want another by-election. We don't want another election, therefore preempting the fact that they wouldn't get enough support in the public to force that third recall, if you see what I mean. Yeah. So I thought it was a very logical move. I think he's going to win. We'll just see how it plays out. But that's what the other politicians thought. They were waiting for this recall once they got the Standards Commissioner's report.
A lot of people sort of smell a rat slightly because they're going, so pretty much Westminster is sure that he's going to be found guilty, effectively, even before they've actually seen what the Standards Committee is going to say. And I was at a party, funnily enough, just a couple of weeks ago, with quite a few Tory MPs there, and the talk was all about the fact that, oh yeah, he's going to be found guilty, almost as if they already had preempted that.
Well, I don't know if what they were saying is you didn't need this one.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just wait for the report,
Right.
see what it says? Obviously, then it's down to the constituents to trigger a recall, and if they didn't want to, they didn't, and if they did, they did. So I think they thought this was a bit of a shenanigans, a showcase, costing whatever, $250,000. So people stood away. Again, I don't know how necessarily it will all play out, because we're all just trying to guess what the future is going to be.
No,
we
but
don't
what I'm saying
actually
is
know the future.
But it feeds into this kind of stitch-up theory that a lot of Reform voters
and that's why
will
he
say.
will probably... Well, I thought he'd win anyway.
Yeah.
I thought he'd definitely win in Clacton.
Yeah.
And then, yes, it can feed into that narrative that actually it is the sort of... whatever the mainstream parties sort of going against him, it was a stitch up, and he will use that no doubt as his narrative as well. I don't think it's as high profile as I thought it was going to be. It's probably got lost within the whole Andy Burnham sort of Prime Minister, his sort of reshuffle.
Well, the news just travels so quickly now, doesn't it?
Well,
I mean, the
that is
cycle
true.
now seems to be shorter than it ever was. I mean, it's only probably... I was talking to somebody yesterday...
As is everybody's memory as well.
Well, exactly. I was talking to somebody only yesterday, and I said, you know, it was about what? It was less than a month ago. Nigel was talking about taking the sort of summer off because he was probably getting a bit burned out, and he was probably working too hard, and he does work very hard, and he does, you know, spend an awful lot of time awake, a bit like Margaret Thatcher. He didn't sleep much. And now suddenly he can't take the summer off because he's got a by-election to fight. Meantime, of course, there was the horrible incident of the Anne Whittaker murder. And now suddenly we've sort of, you know, there's a charge there, so we can't talk about that anymore. Now suddenly we've got Andy Burnham winning Makerfield and becoming the new Prime Minister. It's all just kind of, it just rolls along so quickly, doesn't it?
Yes, and therefore it's very difficult to get cut through in the media. And, you know, if you're not the official opposition where you have that showcase at PMQs every week, it really is difficult to get in as somebody else. Whereas I would say Nigel Farage was always very good at getting headlines. I think he was always very good at being ahead of the news. Always thought he'd make a good paper editor, actually, a newspaper editor. So I think that getting that traction, getting that cut through, being constantly ahead of the curve, you know, is very difficult. And he is a hard worker. You wouldn't have won 1,500 council seats if you weren't. There isn't many of them, so often you won't see that many in the House because there isn't that many of them as they're out and about doing other things. Anyway, we'll just see how it plays out.
Because, I mean, looking at the Times coverage this morning, we've made a big thing of it, partly because, you know, I've been following, obviously, the news coverage of Reform for a couple of years now. And I used to work in newspapers. I know how it all works. But, I mean, the Times have definitely decided to go for him in a way which I've never really seen. I mean, they've got every time they mention George Cottrell, they just refer to him as a convicted criminal. You know, convicted criminal George Cottrell, you know, the convicted criminal behind Nigel Farage. They've got a podcast which is called that, you know. Whereas we've got Louise Haigh here being made the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, a pretty important job in charge of ethics in government.
A joke, what a joke.
And is also a convicted criminal.
I think he's made some very bad appointments, by the way. I think bringing, as you say, a convicted fraudster, putting them at the top, this is the sort of the machinery of government, right in the cabinet officer, as you say, in charge of
ethics. It's putting her in charge of the cabinet, really, isn't it?
Yes. So I think that is a bad move, a very bad move, and so it'll prove to be. I mean, who says crime doesn't pay under Labour? Absolutely. And then to bring, again, Angela Rayner back for somebody who didn't pay enough stamp duty, that's why she had to resign from this exact same position. I think you are treating the public like fools to bring those back. I appreciate Louise Haigh did a lot for Andy Burnham for his by-election there in Makerfield. But one thing that she said in an interview, I would have banned her from having any serious post, is when she said on, I think it was the Nick Robinson podcast, when she said, he's been planning this for a year. Now, that was a political faux pas. The question was, he's not prepared. He doesn't know. He hasn't put enough work into being Prime Minister. No, he's been planning this for a year. Well, that said to everybody, Keir Starmer had only been your prime minister for 1 year and you were plotting to get him out. How could you ever ask for loyalty from anybody if you were plotting to remove the prime minister with a year? So I thought the fact that she said that was so clumsy as a political player. I wouldn't put it at the top, particularly in cabinet where you absolutely have to be on top of your game.
And you have
the brightest people go in cabinet.
And you have to be very discreet as well, because also he was kind of mumbling along before he got in, wasn't he? Saying, it wasn't anything to do with me. I didn't force anybody out. And you're going, well, really? Do you think my head zips up the back, as we say, Because the other thing that we found out, because I think Nadine Dorries wrote about it, was that he tried 26 other constituencies before he suddenly decided Makerfield was his home. And, that was where he wanted to stand. And again, a lot of people have said to me, how is it that Clacton is not a legitimate sort of by-election target, whereas Makerfield was? Because at the end of the day, Makerfield, if you're going to say that this is a stunt by Nigel Farage to sort of try and, prove a point, then surely so was Makerfield. And the fact that Josh Simons was elected 2 years ago by the constituents, and he's now just walked away and handed the reins of power to Andy Burnham. I mean, it's pretty shabby stuff.
Yeah, but even that was, remember what Josh Simons had done. He was part of the Labour Together. He was part of the team that had brought in, remember, the American company, the PR company, to try and besmirch, as it were, certain journalists, I think, from the Times and from the Guardian. So he knew he had to go because they were doing a big investigation into that. The £730,000 that wasn't registered properly. So again, the hypocrisy there. They didn't register £730,000 from Labour Together, which was the machine to get Keir Starmer into office. Remember the whole thing there, Morgan McSweeney, the move. So we've got this. So really, Josh did have to stand down. He probably thought, Makerfield isn't my kind of seat. Maybe now I'll get a job as some kind of policy advisor inside number 10. So it's all cronyism again.
Seems to be getting.
That's right. So it was all cronyism, all job for the boys. And you're right. And Burnham had been plotting this after Starmer was only leader for a year, as Louise Haigh told us. It does not bode well. So all of this, what did he say? We don't want a factionalism within the party.
No,
we don't want infighting. We want a one Labour Party, and we're all going to march forward together. And I thought, actually, we're going to have a translation for what Andy Burnham says. He says one thing, does the exact opposite.
He doesn't want any factions as long as everybody agrees with him.
Exactly. Right? But he purged all of the Starmer loyalists. Right. Can I tell you, that will be the start of factionalism in the party if it wasn't already. Think all of those people who've moved to the backbenches. It was interesting, Rachel Reeves didn't want another job and was prepared instead to go to the backbenches rather than take, I think it was defence. Yes, she'd been demoted from Chancellor, but most people would sooner stay in the cabinet. You'd sooner stay, but there was something that went on there.
So do you think there's a bit of rancor there then?
Well, I think there might be. I thought it's unusual, and I thought, having done and been in quite a few reshuffles, cabinet reshuffles, this I felt must have gone incredibly badly wrong. It didn't start at 4, it started really at about 5:30. That seems to be...
and it was still going at like midnight, wasn't it?
Exactly, which was like one every half hour. Usually it runs like a smooth machine. You are in, you are coming out, the grand call of names going in there, everybody follows seamlessly one after another, which says to me they really hadn't thought what they were going to do, a plan B if somebody said no. They hadn't sorted out in advance, and I thought, my goodness, if you're going to run the country as badly as you've just run a reshuffle, we're in for a rough ride.
Because the thing about Andy Burnham, and you've sort of alluded to it, is that he says one thing, does something completely different, but also he hasn't really got a great track record. First of all, he said yesterday he wants to do away with rough sleeping, right? People say that in Manchester he said he was going to do away with rough sleeping, and it's worse than it's ever been.
That's right.
In the same way that he talks about, I fixed the bus services, I fixed the public transportation system in Manchester. We had a long read from a guy yesterday in Manchester giving me chapter and verse of how the tram system doesn't work. They're repairing it half the time. You know, the buses are terrible. In certain places, you can't get a bus from point A to point B. The traffic's awful. You know, this complete myth that he's created Manchester as if
and
it's
he's left Manchester with what, a 1.3 billion in debt. The B system, is transport system, also is in debt and took lots of money from central.
What the B stands for as well.
From central government. So yes, he talks about this, another 340 million to end rough sleeping, and you're right, he's missed his targets in Manchester, so how he's going to take on the country is unheard of. Today he has announced that we're all going to get less than £1
90p a week.
Yeah, it's okay.
What are you going to do with it? Come on, tell us what you're going to spend it on.
I don't know, a pack of mints or something. I'm not really sure I can get for 90p. But what I will say is, well, how generous are you, Andy Burnham? Labour's taken £2,000 more away from me in tax, but it's okay. It's given me £42 back. This is the economics of socialism. And remember, he said this is going to be funded by stopping the digital ID programme. Well, actually, no, that was unfunded, that programme. In fact, that shows a bit of bad will. Darren Jones tweeted that this morning. Obviously, he having been sacked, who was also a Starmer colleague. And he said, well, you haven't got that funded. Where are you getting the £850 million for? Remember, this is how he's going to work. He's going to give baubles to people, and then we're going to find out we're going to be paying a lot more than that. So if they haven't got the £850 million, which they haven't, they're going to borrow it or tax. If they borrow it, it's going to cost them at least £1 billion. So we'll be paying 60 quid back for the 42 he's given us.
Also, people's council tax is going to go up as well, they think. You know, nobody's really quite sure how much, but it'll be a lot more than 45 quid or 43 quid a year, won't it?
Well, they've not put the energy bills down that they promised us in the first place. And I think, look at that reshuffle. Watch out for Miata Fambula, who's now Energy Secretary, who is...
Net zero woman.
Exactly right. Absolutely net zero woman extraordinaire. But her whole ideology is extreme left wing. She got this from her father, Henry Fambula, who used to be the education secretary in the Liberian sort of government under Samuel Doe, a military, I would call it, a government, a very brutal government. But this was massive state aid. I mean, he stood down in 83, but this is where she gets her ideas from. She's going to give basic income to people, could cost hundreds of billions of pounds. She's going to give energy to people for free who she thinks can't afford it and tax the rest of it. This is going to be a nightmare. She's going to be in charge of policy, in charge of energy, and that is where they should be bringing bills down. They should be getting rid of all of those carbon taxes, all of those extra charges.
But as you say, she's sort of Miliband on steroids, isn't she? So she'll be worse than he'll be.
Exactly.
And I mean, quite funny that he's going to be spending his life flying around the world, you know, burning up carbon like it doesn't, like it's going out of fashion. Because I mean, apparently, one of Burnham's many failings, and he has many, is that he doesn't really understand international politics. He doesn't really have any clue about doing anything as an international statesman. He's not going to be, I don't think, what Starmer was, the guy that goes to every country and hugs everybody and tells them they're building coalitions of the willing and all the rest of it. And, you know, so he's probably going to leave all that to Miliband. But there's so many things he hasn't done. You know, for example, you know, I'm sure you would have liked to have seen him in Parliament this week before going to summer recess, but he's not going to do it.
Well, two quick things. I was speaking to sort of Republicans who I know, and they were saying the Trump team can't stand the Miliband brothers. That's both of them, because as they see them, Ed Miliband, obviously net zero zealot, and they see him as dangerous on the world stage. And the brother, David, who, you know, they talked about coming back into government, don't think that's going to happen, but they see him as the Clinton ally and friend. So actually, it was a very bad appointment there. And as you say, swanning off right round the world. So that, you know, was a big mistake.
Yeah, totally. And also, the other thing that Burnham doesn't seem to have any grasp of is sort of the big departments like defence. I mean, he's put Wes Streeting in charge of it, for heaven's sake. I mean, whatever you may think of Wes Streeting, he might have some skills in certain areas. He might have The trouble is they'll say he did quite a good job at health. Well, he didn't really, because all this talk of reducing waiting times, they didn't reduce anything. He just took people's names off a list and the list suddenly got shorter. And he went, oh, look at that, brilliant. 1 million people fewer actually waiting for an operation. Yeah, because you took the names off the list.
And also, more than ever before, people getting sort of finance to get pay for it privately because they were in so much pain. So people changed sort of what they did in the habit. But let's ask about NHS England, which they announced has gone. No, they didn't. And do you want to know why? They hadn't factored into getting rid of NHS England that they were going to have to get money for people redundancy payments. So they messed that up. So that is still running in tandem at the moment. So he hasn't done such a great job.
Oh, no, I don't think he has at all.
Oh, no, I know you do. But what I meant is this, they talk a lot, but people need to dig into what's going on. So like you say, the waiting list was just basically a con what they were doing there. But I think people need to drill into what's happened with NHS England, where the money is going for that. The people are still employed for that, and some are then moving on to another job.
Yeah, it is extraordinary how they've managed to. I mean, like Starmer's kind of, farewell tour, as I called it, where he kept going around telling everyone how brilliantly he'd done, and to which mostly the answer was, well, why are you going then?
Exactly. Why did your backbenchers get rid of
you? I've left the country in a better state than I came in. No, you haven't. This country is on its knees, right? And it's in a lot worse shape than it was when the Tories actually lost the election, because I seem to remember the economy back in sort of June of 2024 was actually not bad. Whereas now, I mean, there is nobody that I speak to either in business or just in private who thinks they're better off now than they were 2 years ago. They're worse off. People have got less money, they've got less disposable income, everything's gone up in price. I was saying this, and I know it's just one stupid example, but I went to buy some Nurofen Plus the other day in a local pharmacy. £12.50 for a packet of 32, which I'm pretty sure about 6 months ago was only about £8.
Yeah.
So things are jumping in price. They're not, we keep being told, food inflation is only running at about 4%. It's not. It's running at about 25%.
Exactly. And therefore that £42 a year off your energy bill really isn't going to touch the sides. And the only reason any tax going is good for me, but it does make me smile as Andy Burnham is such a Europhile that he wouldn't have been able to have got rid of that VAT if we hadn't have left Europe. That was part of a Brexit dividend, was to get rid of that. So it does make you smile, but this is the man who, again, will be trying to rekindle that EU relationship and hook us back in with things like free movement, hook us back in with paying them to be a part of it.
Yeah, and what do people say in Westminster about Starmer? Because, for a long time, he was this very authoritarian, rather unlikable figure who couldn't really communicate with the people, couldn't really communicate with the media, was very awkward in lots of, situations. He was always sort of standing in the wrong place, or, that time when Trump looked like he was going to invite him to say something and then he just turned his back on him and all that. And then suddenly in the last kind of 3 weeks, since he knew he was going, after saying he was not going and he was going to fight for his job,
Well, he did for long enough.
Yeah, I know. And I've always said, and you probably know this, I've always said that I didn't think he would last because I thought he was really, really just not very good at it. And as soon as he got in, all this talk of being, transparent and not having cronies and all, all rubbish, right? It all fell apart very, very quickly for him. But he tried to sort of give this impression towards the end that he was this nice guy, that he was funny, that he could be self-deprecating, that he could be... I mean, do you think that he was trying to play a role as Prime Minister that he couldn't play? Or do you think the real Starmer is the one at the end? See, I think the real Starmer is the awkward one rather than the one who was trying to make out that he was actually Mr. Nice Guy.
So I think when everybody leaves as Prime Minister, the weight is lifted off their shoulders. Therefore, they can say and do what they want. The problem which Andy Burnham will have is the problem of the backbenchers. They haven't changed. That 403 of them, massive spread, particularly left-wing, wanting more benefits, as Pat McFadden said, just tax for more benefits, right? And that balancing act constantly absolutely boxed him in.
Yeah.
So he literally was robotic. He didn't know which way to turn. He was boxed in every way. So I think he had that weight lifted off him. And at the end, he was just saying sort of pleasantries, wasn't he? He wasn't guiding the country in any way. He wasn't finding money for defence. He wasn't sorting out the budget. He was just sort of being polite at the end. But I think that kept him so robotic, that which meant he didn't know which way to turn, is going to be Andy Burnham's problem in a few weeks' time.
Yes.
We're going to have this bounce, absolutely. We'll have this new bit of energy. He's reshuffled the chairs on the Titanic, as it were. But when people come back and demand more benefits, when they demand more, whatever it is they're going to be, but it's going to be more handouts and benefits, and he realises he can't afford it, this is where it's all going to go horribly wrong. When you're looking at youth unemployment, the highest for 12 years, when you look at sort of private sector pay stagnating, when you look at construction not happening, when you look, you ain't going to be able to deliver the council houses or whatever you want, it's all going to come tumbling down. So I don't know how long his honeymoon period will last. There was talk,
Not
wasn't
long,
there? I don't think it is. And therefore, whilst he might have thought he was going to go for a snap election, as he sees that poll dwindling away and that bounce not as high as he wanted it to be and not lasting as long as he wanted to be, I cannot see him doing a snap election.
Yeah.
And if he does, because he wants 5 years rather than 3, I think he will. I think he'll be an idiot to do it.
Well, he would be, possibly, but I'm of the impression that many idiots like him that get into power have become so intoxicated by the win.
Well,
like
you are
in
right.
Makerfield, he'll think that he's conceited enough to think that
He can walk on water.
I can walk on water. I'm the new Messiah. Look at everybody cheering and welcoming me into Downing Street, and therefore, the longer he goes on, the worse his legacy is. Right. So if he goes out in 3 years' time, having not had a snap election, and he loses the biggest majority Labour ever had, that's what they'll remember. That's what he won't be remembered for saving Labour. He'll be remembered for killing it.
Yeah, and I guess I have the reference point of Theresa May calling a snapper, having promised backbenchers, I won't do it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then she lost her majority, as it were, in the House. It was greatly reduced, right? His reference point is different. His reference point is Gordon Brown.
Yeah.
He bottled it.
He
should have done in 2007 and he didn't do it. So our reference points, I guess, are different. But I'm quite sure, and I did ask a lot of the backbenchers, all the Tory backbenchers said to Theresa May, oh, you're not going to do an election, because they knew it's always a dangerous thing to do an election. You can lose your seat. So I was speaking to backbenchers. I said, did you say the same thing to Andy Burnham? And a lot of them didn't. They were so just delighted to get rid of Starmer, welcome anybody, and they didn't do that. So in that regard, maybe he could. But remember, it's dangerous. Losing a lot, he would lose a lot of backbenchers. It's not just the backbenchers, then it's the constituency chairman, it's your supporters, it's everybody. You lose a lot of goodwill when you lose seats.
Yes, but do you not think there'd also be a part of him that thinks that they've got reform slightly on the rocks, and maybe this is a better time to strike than to wait for the economy to get worse and worse, and for reform to kind of rebuild?
You're quite right, Mike. What I'd heard is he was getting advice from his pollsters, his inner team, saying at the moment reform have peaked under a bit of sort of
bit of a cloud.
A bit of a cloud, yeah. So they're at 20%. The Tories are doing better under Kemi Badenoch, but still not organised enough. They're at about 20%. But Labour at the moment are on 30%. Go for it. Yeah. But if he was going to go for it and seize that, it would have to be October. He'd have to go to the party conference, announce it then, be a snap one in October. And I thought maybe that's why he was staying out of the way, not letting anybody ask him any questions. He's doing a big giveaway now. So then that would make you think October, just all good stuff over the summer, weather's good, couple of sort of freebie handouts, announce it September and October.
Yeah. And what do you make of this kind of professional northerner thing? Because I think it's embarrassing, right? I mean, you're from the north, you're proper northerner. You don't go around going, I'm from the north, we have more things in the north. It's ridiculous. It's kind of, it's patronising as hell. And he's not even from Manchester, is he?
Yeah, he's from Cheshire, but I think he says he comes from wherever he wants to. He's sometimes Liverpool, he's sometimes Manchester, sometimes Cheshire. But I do say to people, the north is much bigger than Manchester.
Yeah.
So how do you think Liverpool view Manchesterism or Leeds Leeds does, or Chester
Yeah, or
does, or
Newcastle,
Warrington
yeah.
does, or wherever. And then there's coastal areas, there's rural areas, there's towns and villages. So I think he's overplayed it, and I think this will come back to haunt him as well. I think, why are you doing, and I think he is, I think he's pitching the South now against the North. Oh, the South, you're going to pay more. You're going to have to put your hand in your pockets. And I'm thinking, well, haven't they always down South? Isn't the mortgage higher here? Isn't the council tax here? Aren't you working more here? Don't you pay a lot more for the trains and the tubes up here? So I think, oh, I don't like this pitching us against each other.
Patronising to make out that everyone in the North isn't very well off, when in fact, there's plenty of very well-run communities, very wealthy communities.
Yes, there are.
In Cheshire, in out around Leeds, in Yorkshire, up in the Lake District. I mean, it's not as if they're all walking around with whippets and flat caps.
But in the cities there are. Liverpool, lots of affluent, lovely places. Manchester, there is. So like any city, you've got affluence and you've got poverty. Oh yeah, we've got all of that. Sometimes we say we have a better standard of living. 15 minutes to drive into work. You can park your car, etc. So we used to say, down south you have a much rougher ride of things, really. It is a more difficult lifestyle, particularly the commute, etc. No, I don't like this, and I think that'll come back to haunt him, actually. And I don't like I'm not going to wear a suit and tie if I'm not in the chamber. Come on, mate. You've got to look the part. It's slovenly, it's scruffy. We don't like this. We want you to look like the leader of our country on a world stage.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, after having said that, then he turned up yesterday, not in the House of Commons, in a suit and a tie. So I mean, clearly,
that's why I said we're going to have the how to understand what Burnham says. But
Burnham speak.
Remember, he says it again. He hates the 80s and Thatcher. And I thought, but if you look at him, to me, his cultural references are the 80s. His music references the 80s. He looks like he's in the 80s. The man adores the 80s. Yeah, right. He is the 80s. He hates Thatcher. He's done well under Thatcher. He got to Cambridge under Thatcher.
And he also was in a government after Thatcher. And after John Major, that if he'd wanted to reverse whatever it was he hated that she did, he could have done it then. But he didn't do it then. And he was a minister in Blair's government. He was Minister of Culture, Media and Sport, I think. And he was also Health Minister as well. This idea that he's an outsider who's coming in to rescue Britain from politics is just BS, isn't
and
it?
the fact that he's going to do the biggest changes in 40 years politically and economically, that would say, well, then go to the country and have a general election. Because if you're going to change things that much, that means you don't have your manifesto. You're going to do things. It's also very vain and egotistical before you've even started to say you're going to be better than people who've won, like Margaret Thatcher, 3 general elections, better than Tony Blair. So you've got either side there. I kind of thought, really? Really?
Yeah. And when's he going to stop bloody smiling all the time? Because it's really annoying me. Nobody's that happy. It's just a fake smile. And, he's bringing back hope. That's what he keeps saying. We're going to give people hope. We're going to give them something to believe in. It's all this kind of airy-fairy kind of, what I would call...
hope in every heart.
Yeah.
Growth in every postcode.
Well, I said it was like, you might as well start singing You'll Never Walk Alone. Just get the scarf out.
Be careful with that. As a Liverpool fan.
Well, I said it to him because I knew it was annoying as an Everton fan, But the bottom line is that, this whole, you can't treat the public like idiots, right? And it appears to me that that's what he's doing.
It'll last a little while. And I think maybe people for a while say, we do need a bit of optimism. We do need a little bit of hope. We're delighted. And you can't forget, so many people were just so relieved and delighted to get rid of Starmer. They were just delighted to usher anybody in. So there will be a bit of a summer bounce and maybe allow him, to have that. But I think this reshuffle was the start of the end. I think that absolutely is. And talking of Liverpool, I know you were talking about Kevin Keegan earlier. Well, a treat. I used to go with my dad to the football match, but that was the era, wasn't it? Emlyn Hughes, Ray Clemens, Steve Highway. Exactly.
My sister had posters of Steve Highway all over the wall. She loved Steve Highway. He was her sort of teenage crush.
Yes, exactly. But we loved Kevin Keegan with the shaggy perm.
Yeah, the perm was brilliant, wasn't it? And people wanted to have the perm. And I mean, even when Harry Enfield did the Scousers, I remember my husband having his hair permed like Kevin Keegan. Yeah. Because you
I
remember
think I had a perm in the 80s.
when-
Not dissimilar, much longer though.
was it Harry Enfield that used to do the Scousers?
Yes.
And they all had the perm, didn't they?
It counts, it
London
counts.
and all that, you know. And it was great. And we used to go to Liverpool quite a lot and watch the football. And as I say, my mother came with us one time. My sister was about 15, I was about 12. And we stood in a cop, and it was quite an incredible experience, to be moved around like you didn't have any autonomy at all. And there was this guy standing behind my mother, and she was wearing this fur coat at the time, and there was a lot of swearing going on, and he kept just apologising. "I study love," and it was just really nice. It was very much a whole very Liverpool thing, and those days. Whenever you look at the old footage of Kevin Keegan playing, I mean, it was a very different country then, wasn't it? It was a very different place, but a kind of a more friendly sort of place, really,
Yes.
In many ways.
Could Esther have a look at the Harry Hill dance, the Andy Burnham?
Oh yeah, this is great. Yeah, let's do the Harry.
Do it.
Yeah, see if we can do it.
Grab your headphones, Esther.
Oh.
Yeah, this is Harry.
The Andy Burnham dance.
Yeah, the Andy Burnham dance.
We got the words for you.
Okay, yeah.
Should we do that again?
Yeah.
Let's do the Andy Burnham then, together. Hit it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Clap your hands. Throw a chair. Peel a parsnip. Iron your trousers. Sieve the greens. Strangle a fox. Strangle a fox.
Strangle a fox is great.
Pipe the buttercream. Stub your toe. Cancel your Netflix.
Cancel Netflix is brilliant.
Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham.
Andy Burnham.
Hey.
I enjoyed that.
That's good, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, just I don't know when the first kind of crisis will hit him, but I reckon it will be sooner rather than later. I don't know what it's going to be, but it will be something.
You never know, do you?
No, you just don't. And finally, we've been talking about fridges this morning as well. So you've probably got quite a posh fridge, have you? Have you got a posh fridge?
I have got because I love them, the stand-up American style.
Oh yeah,
fridge.
with the 2 doors.
Yeah,
very nice. There's one here, right? Because I remember thinking, I think it was what's her name, Nancy Pelosi, who was said to have a fridge in America that was worth $26,000. Right? I've actually found one here, which is a Sub-Zero built-in fridge freezer with a glass door from the Cotswold Cooking Company, £23,900. I'd want to have wheels if I, put that. You want to drive that around,
no,
wouldn't you?
There's certain things you think, no, that isn't worth it, is it? I mean, obviously. That reminds me of the sort of things Nicola Sturgeon's husband would be buying. Yeah. Oh, what can I do with this money? Oh, let's not just buy a pen for, 50 quid. Let's have a £2,000 pen. Yeah. So I bet you Nicola
also, I love
in
the
a
fact
kitchen's
that
got one.
And she couldn't tell the difference between the £2,000 pepper grinder and an ordinary, 20 quid one. I mean, I think I'd be able to tell. I don't know, but I mean,
then you were kidded if you can't tell the difference. Yeah. Okay. But I think having a coffee machine in every room or whatever it was, a Smeg Bosch or whatever it was, Miele or whatever, coffee machine. Yes, you would notice that. But of course, if you couldn't see the camper van on your mother-in-law's path, you're not really going to see too much, are you?
No, even though you could see the camper van from space, because it was actually on Google Earth. You could see it.
What was she saying? Was she saying, "Oh, I thought it was the next door neighbours parked on our path," or I just didn't see it the way I entered the front door?
You'll have known people like this in your life. I've known them. Where I knew one guy once he worked on Wall Street when I lived in America, and he built this house in Connecticut, and he was very proud of it. I went to see him one weekend, and him and his wife were sort of showing me around the house, and he said, "Do you know I've got and on the wall, on every wall as you went into every room, he said I've got a separate stereo system, so you can play different music in each room."
Okay.
And I went, "Well, that's great, but you can only be in one room at a time. What's the point?" And he built in this entire system. It's cost him about $25,000 or something to be able to play a different song in each room as he walked.
You burst his bubble there, didn't you?
I did, rather. Yeah, he kind of looked at me like,
Having said that, is this a man thing? Because growing up with my dad, he loved music, and it didn't matter in every room there was noise going
Yeah.
on. There'd be a radio on
Yeah.
in one room, there'd be a record player on in another,
Yeah.
there'd be a telly on in another, so that I think that he could just go from one room to the other hearing noise. So maybe it's a boy thing, they
Maybe.
like noise everywhere.
Maybe it is. Well, I'm very much one of those people who, because of what I've been doing for the last 20 years, listening to the various different outputs of things, I can listen to more than one thing at a time. So you can have like 2 different radio stations on, and I'm listening. It's even
Wife
worse.
and children and a radio
No, I never listen to
station.
the wife. No, never listen to all the children, to be honest. But there we are.
Just finding out you fell into that trap there.
So what are you doing for the summer? I mean, that's not a leading question.
Right,
but
yeah. Well, I've got constituency stuff, so
Yeah.
I'm back home in Chester doing that. I'm in Parliament this week because it ended so suddenly, Parliament, in a way, and
Yeah.
certain things that were meant to happen didn't. So I'm doing all paperwork this week.
Right.
I'm doing stuff in my patch, and then it will be more or less gone, and we'll be back for September.
You'll be back in September, yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, so, and I'll tell you something else a little bit. I have been writing a political thriller.
Ooh.
I never wanted to write about my life, but I love fiction, I love
Yeah.
political thriller.
Okay.
And so that is what I do, an hour and a half every morning, start
Oh,
writing.
good for you.
So that is what I do. So I get up early, I do that, and then
Excellent.
carry on the day. I don't have dogs, I don't have kids, I
Right.
don't go to the gym, so as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned,
That's
I can
quite
do
a good
that.
discipline, that, isn't it? Have you got?
Yeah, well, a working title is Deniable Operations.
Okay.
So that's
Excellent.
its working title.
All right.
And
when are you hoping to bring it out? Next week? Next year?
Next week.
Oh, not next week, sorry, next year.
I have never done this before, so I don't actually know the sort of the timing and the timelines.
I think they work
for
a long
things.
time ahead, because I
Yeah.
was working on a book a while ago, which never saw the light of day.
What was it about?
It was it was autobiographical, basically. It was just about my stuff that I've done.
Yeah.
Somebody said you should really write all this down, from your time in Fleet Street to going and walking in Bosnia, whatever. So the book's written, but I could never get it published. But the publishers that I did talk to were working like a year ahead.
Oh, right.
So they'd go, like now, for example, they'd be talking about publishing it, if you wanted to do it Christmas,
Yeah.
it'd be like Christmas 27. As opposed to Christmas like
well,
26.
I knew that, and then they're meant to do edits, and they're meant to do
Yeah.
what have you. It was just something I really wanted to do. So it is very much about now. It is sort of political. It is the intelligence services. It is a deniable operation. It's just that you want to know that there's some good people there
Yes.
who can save the world. So that is what it's about, and
Excellent.
save the country.
Well,
yeah.
I should look forward to that.
So there you go. So
Sounds
I'm busy.
Sounds busy, yeah. Brilliant. Well, great to see you, Esther.
Thank you.
Fantastic to
Great
have you
to
on
be
for
here.
so long as well. Thank you so much for taking so much time to do that. And we'll see how bad a state the country's in by the end of the summer, I suppose. But hopefully we'll see you before that.
Yes, you will.
Good. Excellent stuff. Esther McVeigh, what a brilliant woman. If only every politician was like you, we wouldn't have anything like the trouble we've got. Some news, it says here.
Yeah.
You've made the screen go black and white. I don't know how you've done that, but well done. Let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes. The Knob of the North met with King Charles and was formally appointed. In his first speech outside 10 Downing Street, he pledged to end years of instability, deliver the biggest changes in the last 40 years, bring back hope, and focus on stable, responsible politics with a left-leaning agenda emphasising working people, regeneration, and a circuit breaker moment for the country. What a load of bollocks. He quickly unveiled a new cabinet with a clear shift. John Healey as Chancellor, David Miliband as Foreign Secretary, Angela Rayner returning to Housing, Shabana Mahmood staying as Home Secretary, Wes Streeting as Defence Secretary, and Yvette Cooper in Health. Reports describe a purge of some Starmer allies, signalling a more leftward direction. Other headlines include the charging of a 28-year-old man, Joshua Kerry, with the murder of former MP Anne Widdecombe in what police called a targeted attack. Additional stories cover Kevin Keegan's death at 75, various crimes and incidents, and international notes like Ryanair's profit warnings amid global tensions. This rapid leadership transition highlights ongoing volatility in UK politics. Latest Tiger.
Thank you very much indeed. That is, of course, Edward Hughes with the news. I can't believe the time. It's already like nearly 9:15. Bishop Mick Fleming coming up in a short while. William Yarwood's going to join us as well. Josh Rom is going to join us in the studio as well. Kelvin McKenzie, of course, coming up at 10 o'clock right after this show on UK Live Online. And we'll be bringing you that all the way through the course of this week. We'll keep you up to date as well with the various bits of breaking news as they happen this afternoon and later on this morning, because, of course, what we know from what we saw yesterday was that Burnham still hasn't finished completely and utterly reshaping his government, actually. Do you know what we haven't done, actually, Pooch? And I wonder if we should. Should we play a bit of Burnham's speech, or should we do that later? Maybe do that with William Yarwood, shall we? Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I can do it for now.
Oh, sorry, you're not Pooch. Sorry, Pooch has gone next door.
You got it on now?
Scarlett, yeah, the one. I think it's number 7. I think, yeah.
Got it.
We will help people to live well, building a more preventative state, investing in people's success rather than paying for failure. And that work starts now. I will soon go through that door behind me and issue my first instruction to end rough sleeping in our country.
Yes, he's going to issue his first instruction. Well, that's nice for him, isn't it? Why does he think that anybody's going to pay any attention to his first instruction? Because life isn't as simple as that. You can't just issue an instruction and then something happens, can you? Anyway, let's talk to Bishop Mick Fleming, who is the next guest right here on the Mike Graham Show. Very good morning to you, Mick.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Not at all. Good to see you. Are you full of the joys of spring and this brand new government that's going to be so much better than the last government, and it's going to fill us with hope and belief and, whatever else?
I get my hope from above, so it's a lot easier for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother getting it from Downing Street, because I don't think that. I mean, what I was saying this morning is we've basically been told by Andy Burnham that the last 2 years have been hopeless, because we've been run by a load of people who didn't know what they were doing, and he's now got rid of them all, and he's going to put in a load more people who don't know what they're doing, who are not the same people as the ones who did know what they were doing or didn't, although some of them are. So he's brought back Louise Hay, he's brought back Angela Rayner, he's still got a job for the fake solicitor, Jonathan, what's his face? I don't know what he's doing. Do you know what he's doing? He says he's going to issue an instruction to get rid of homelessness. Well, how's that going to work?
So he's not going to get rid of homelessness. So it's an impossibility. I think what he did well in Manchester was he made connections that weren't there before at government level, like connection with first sector, basically with people who were working for free. He made good connections. However, I mean, over the last 4 years, just in Manchester, homelessness has grown year on, year out. So you can't end homelessness because it's such a big story and it's so multifaceted. You're talking about the cutting mental health services are being torn apart, ripped apart, addiction services, the price of rents are going through the roof, and the top-ups for rents for people who are on low incomes are getting more and more. The cost of living crisis, if you want to still call it that, is like going off the scale. So it's increasing and it's going to increase, and the facts are it's going to increase. So unless policy is completely changed and you start to look at it in a completely different light, then homelessness will continue to increase, as will suicides, as will drug deaths, as will everything else that goes along with poverty and depravity. Yeah.
I mean, some people are saying this morning, well, he didn't really say homelessness, he said rough sleeping. What's the difference?
Well, so there's many people who are homeless, they're sleeping on sofas, they're staying with friends. You've got like men who are staying at girls' houses, girls who are staying at men's houses just to have a bed and nowhere to stay. Rough sleeping is quite insane, Mike. So what happens is October, November time, the different local authorities measure it differently, but they physically go out and they look in the areas where they see people might be rough sleeping, and they have to be bedded down. So they have to be covered up, laid down, like they're going to go to sleep. They don't have to be asleep, but they have to look like they're sleeping, and then they count them. So the official figures, like say for an area can be like there's 4 rough sleepers. Well, I had breakfast with 20 of them this morning, so they don't exist. So the real figures for rough sleeping are probably somewhere between 4 and 6 times at least more than the official record, which is really bad because it means that we can say we don't have any homelessness in that area.
Right.
So we don't need to put any money into it, no resources into it. So we won't. And so it's kind of like a paper shuffling thing, really, you know. And I think for Mr. Burnham, it kind of like his promise, you know, I think it was he'd end rough sleeping by 2020 in Manchester, was kind of a vote winner, if you will. It kind of it's something good, you know, that we want to achieve. It's a great thing to do, but to aspire to. But unless, you know, policy becomes aligned with, you know, that as an action, then it's not going to happen.
Right. Well, I mean, one of the reasons, presumably, there's homelessness, if you like, is there's not enough homes, right? So people can't find homes to live in. So unless you're going to build a load of homes to put them in, where are they going to go?
I think it's more, Mike, because it's like it's single people who are homeless, isn't it? You know, when they end up homeless, you know, we do have like families who are homeless. We do have children. You know, I don't know if your viewers that kind of know this, but we do have children who are street homeless, rough sleeping. I mean, I just was with a guy this morning who is he's disabled, so he's in a wheelchair and he's street homeless.
Right.
You know, so it's. You know, it's not as straightforward, as simple as just waving a magic wand saying I'm going to end rough sleeping.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of the stories behind it, and you have to know the stories. And sadly, the bigger picture of homelessness doesn't tell the story.
Yeah.
You know?
Is it an issue of money, would you say? I mean, can central government give more money to local authorities? How does that all work?
No, I don't think it is that. I think it's the basic structure, you know, of society. So so mental health needs resourcing. It's under-resourced. So where I'm from at the moment, so they've just withdrawn mental health support within the community, and they're looking at it in a different light, basically saving money. So most people who are rough sleeping, not all, but a majority, have got mental health issues. And then money for addiction services is being withdrawn, it's being cut. And then the charities that deal with it don't get a chunk of the money. So it's kind of Andy Burnham trying to kind of make everything local won't necessarily work anyway, because what will happen is it still ends up jobs for the boys. The local councils control where that money goes. Yeah. So it won't come to us. It won't come to many other homeless charities. They won't get a slice of the pie. So it doesn't matter who's doing the good work, who's evidencing that what they're doing is working. If you don't get the resource, then it's going to be difficult and more people are going to become homeless.
Yeah. So how does your charity work? Tell us a bit about that.
So we're called Church on the Street. So we're a faith-based organisation. So our kind of mantra really would be that it's faith in action. So it's like there's a little bit of the gospel that's in Matthew 25, and it says, "What you did for the least of these, you did for me." So we believe that when we're going out helping people, then that's part of our remit of faith. So what we have in our church. So this is a church. I built a medical facility. So we have people that who are homeless or addicted or just from the general public can come in and they can get healthcare because they can't access it elsewhere. And then we have addiction services, and we have our own counsellors, and we have food every day, and then we have addiction programs and abstinence programs and clothing and all the things that you would expect that's needed, showers and things like that. And this is in a church. And then of course we have our Sunday services and prayer. So all these things together, we don't just look at homelessness and addiction and poverty as unsolvable. What we look at it is that real poverty is unequal access. And for me, when I look at governments and this government, the access is unequal, and they will only create more poverty.
Right. And I mean, the difficulty, I suppose, with an awful lot of it, as you say, is either drug related or it's alcohol related or it's mentally mental health related, and that's not a quick fix, really, is it?
No, but all those areas are underfunded.
Yeah.
So you almost sometimes when you work in this field, I guess anyone will tell you, you almost think, surely this is not deliberate. Surely, but it does make you think sometimes, because the very heart of society is to end poverty. And if you're going to take resources away from doing that, then it seems to be like suicide. So the government have just taken away the vouchers for children for the summer holidays, right? So it wasn't a lot of money, and it's for the poorest of the poorest of families. This is not for every child. And I think it was £15 a week during the school holidays. So this is not 50, and it's very little money on the scale of things. So when you look at that, so the north of England, if you want to put it that way, it's got some of the highest child poverty. So we're around for 40 and 42% of children live in child poverty, and increasing. And the very poorest will withdraw the resource. We'll take that resource away from them. So what do you think that's going to do if we take that resource away? And that's what we've done. So then you don't resource the charities and to do this work. So then charities like ourselves and many, many others across the country will be feeding children throughout the summer holidays, begging and scraping and trying to get money together to do it. And the local authorities' response, this is right across the country because I've seen it, is not to input money, but it's to advertise the fact that other people are doing things like clubs and things like that. So the local authorities are doing a good job in advertising it, but they don't have the resources either to provide it. So I know we're talking about homelessness, but these are the catalysts. This is poverty, and the children of addicts, the children of people with mental health issues, these are them children. And so what we'll do, it's a really good idea, we'll take the money away that feeds them. It's a damn disgrace. And any government should hang their head in shame for that.
They should, instead of claiming that they keep solving child poverty, which is what they keep doing at the same time, which is kind of ironic, isn't it? And so how do people get to help your charity if they're listening to this and you're trying to feed kids? What can people do for you?
So, they can contact us. We've got a website, so it's Church on the Street Ministries, and people can support through the website if they want to financially. You can see what we do. We can send you updates on the work that we do. So it's just kind of like, we are a Christian organisation, but we help anybody. We're not really interested in your faith or your colour or your creed. We're just interested in what's right. And I believe God will do the rest.
Yes.
So we keep going. Yeah.
Great. Well, listen, I called you bishop earlier on because that was what it said in front of me. But you are a bishop.
Yeah, I am, but I just prefer. So he's the work I do is very pastoral. So I'm a pastor. I'm just Mick, really. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Good stuff. Well, it's great work, Mick. No, not at all. It's great work that you're doing, and we're here. We like to think if we can do anything, while we do what we do, we can help a few people, and if it helps one person, it's better than nothing,
It certainly is. Thanks, Mike.
Not at all. Great to see you, Mick Fleming there, a proper bishop, but calls himself Pastor Mick Fleming. Go along and find his website and see if you can give him some help. That'd be great. This is, of course, the Mike Graham Show. It's coming up to 9:27, very nearly. We're here till 10 o'clock. Kelvin McKenzie coming on at 10, of course, with his show on UK Live Online. Lots more news coming out on that front, by the way, very soon. We were very, very excited about some of the things that we're talking about doing. And you will be having your socks blown off, as it were, in the coming weeks and months as we get into the summer and we start looking around at various different stories. A couple of other stories to mention, by the way. BBC spends $250 million a year on travel. It's nice, isn't it? 5 coffees a day, good for you, coming along on the ticker there. And then the weirdest story of the day, they found a monkey on a bus. Don't ask me how or why it got there, but it was in a cage and under a cover. And somebody left it on a bus somewhere near Mill Hill in North London. John says, God bless Mike. Thank you very much indeed. I've got this from Charlotte's dad. Just had a message from my cousin Kenny and his partner Monique in Scotland. They're in Dunoon. I know Dunoon. And they watch the MG show every day. He nearly fell off his chair when he heard my name. might give them a mention. I think their names came up on the ticker tape on the rolling screen. I think they might have done. So welcome to Monique and Kenny in Dunoon. How is Dunoon today? This is one of those great names, isn't it? You just want to keep saying it. Dunoon! But now, before we speak to Josh Rom about the latest on the royal front, we're going to be going over to the big Willie himself.
Big Willie.
William Yarwood. Very good morning to you, Mr. Yarwood. How are you, sir?
Morning, Mike. How are you, man?
Look what I've got here.
Yeah, nice. Nice. I gave you those at CPAC. Glad to see you kept
I've got
them.
some free beer mats from Taxpayers Alliance at CPAC. And do you know what else I got, which is brilliant? And I'm going to give it to my son when he comes down from Manchester. A lighter, cigarette lighter, with a bottle opener at the end.
Nice.
Which is a great innovation. I think you can sell a lot of those.
Yeah, I mean, they're heritage TPA bits of gear. I mean, we flog a lot of those at most conferences we go to. I think our grassroots guy, Ben, who you've had on the show before, was out in the smoking area giving them out to people, basically, and everyone was just like, oh, yeah, I'll take a free lighter. So, yeah, it was nice to shift some TPA stash and wares at the conference.
Yeah, listen, you can't have enough lighters if you're a smoker, but there we are. It was quite a good event, wasn't it, the old CPAC scenario? You were there about pretty much all of it, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there for the full 3 days. I think I was there relatively early on Thursday, but I turned up a little bit later on the Saturday because I got a bit drunk on the Friday because I'm an idiot. On Thursday because I'm an idiot. But no, it was all right. It was good fun. Like I said, we flogged a lot of stuff, signed some people up to the bulletin, said hello to some people. I did quite a few media interviews on various shows, as well as some people who come on your show, such as Ellie Hodges and Jess Kane, and a few other people who wanted to chat to me about Andy Burnham, Andy, and what his plans are for the country. So yeah, it was relatively good fun, and we had a great time at the gala dinner. Although, of course, you didn't wear a black tie properly. You didn't have a proper bow tie on. You just went open neck, which I thought was interesting.
When you say properly, you mean like according to the William Yarwood school of dressing up for a black tie? I mean, it was black. First of all, black tie optional, which I've never heard of before. Right?
Yeah,
So some people weren't even in black tie. So I took the view that if that's the case, then surely if you can wear a shirt without a tie, then that's optional. So I'm good. That was my view.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I think black tie optional is possibly the worst dress code because everyone's confused about what to actually wear. But when I saw black tie optional, I thought, you know what, sod it, I haven't worn black tie in a while. I'm going to go for it. I look good in black tie. So, I mean, I look good in everything, Mike, but I look good in black tie especially. So I'm gonna hit the round running and go for it. And I had a lovely little time with the TPA team, and hope you had a good time too.
I had a great time, and it was good to see you guys there as well. Let's talk about the main event, of course, which is the sort of crowning moment for Andy Burnham as he walks up Downing Street. I've never understood why, political apparatchiks just cheer all the time. I mean, what are they cheering him for? He hasn't done anything, right? He stood out on front of Downing Street and declared that he was going to issue his first instruction to do away with homelessness, and everyone's going, well, that's great. What, is that all you have to do now? You just go, zippity-doo-dah, I'm going to get rid of homelessness like a magic wand. How's he going to do that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's quite funny considering his homelessness record in Manchester. I think homelessness is now higher than it was in 2019 in Manchester at the moment. And you go to Piccadilly Gardens, and it's like an open air, insane asylum. So the idea that Andy Burnham has somehow got a good track record on this issue is slightly for the birds. But I mean, it speaks to Andy Burnham's kind of as I was on the show last time around talking about Andy Burnham, it shows his kind of sort of lack of also creativity. It's almost like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, we're going to do good things and we're not going to do bad things. And that's somehow going to get Britain moving again. The government's been doing too many bad things, guys. We're just going to do good things now because I'm Andy and I'm from Tup North and we only do good things from Tup North. But also what you might have noticed, Mike, in his speech yesterday, we're using a lectern and I'm, going to talk to the crowd kind of a speech, which was, said to be authentic, but I think came across as pretty inauthentic. It was obviously scripted in his head. I think that the interesting thing from that speech was he still doesn't have a plan. He still has no idea what he's going to do. We'll lay out our plan later down the line. It's like, dude, you're Prime Minister. Like you're Prime Minister now. What you're supposed to have a plan, and when you're going in there, and the only thing we've seen from him thus far is this VAT cut on energy bills, which obviously doesn't deal with the fact that there's so many green levies shoved on energy bills, which is really hiking up the costs, and doesn't deal with the fact that obviously net zero is imposing energy costs on ordinary British households, which he's now doubled down on with his new energy and net zero secretary. He used to be the chief executive of the New Economics Foundation, which is a pretty hard left think tank, to say the very least. So I'm not particularly surprised by anything Burnham's done thus far, or what he said thus far, because it's all just guff and style, as he's basically been known for. But I think that he's going to get found out pretty soon. I mean, even former Labour cabinet ministers and Labour ministers, Darren Jones being the key example here, has come out this morning saying that the scrapping of the digital ID scheme, which obviously is a good thing, but said that essentially that wasn't funded yet, so there was no money put towards it. So how on earth he's going to divert funding meant for that in towards this new VAT cut, which is going to cost taxpayers about £850 million, is slightly for the birds. And so actually at the first step, Mike, he's sort of fallen over on his face already, but he's going to have this little honeymoon period from the Labour Party and indeed from the media, so no one's going to criticise him quite yet.
Well, maybe not, but I mean, we worked out this morning that this VAT cut gives you approximately 90 pence to spend every single week. I don't know what you'd spend 90 pence on if you had a chance to do it, but there's not much you can get for it, really, is there?
No, I mean, it's definitely not going to buy me a pint at the pub, or three for that matter. But nevertheless, I think that it's also emblematic of how VAT is being used by Labour. It's used as sort of a political gimmick, isn't it? You had the summer of savings with Rachel Reeves, God rest her soul, she's now gone, Rachel Thieves, Richard III, she's now gone. She was using that to sort of give hospitality and give leisure, centres and things like that, some cuts in their ability to sell tickets and more ability to make profits, all the while forgetting the fact that she actually started off her time as Chancellor slamming hospitality and slamming these industries with the increase in that employers' national insurance. Obviously, you've seen the VAT on private schools, which is used as a gimmick in order to try and fund more teachers in state comprehensives. But in reality, it's actually costing the Treasury more than it is actually raising any money. And also, it's not exactly going into state comprehensive schools either, because teacher numbers have been cut. VAT is being used as a gimmick by this Labour government and indeed by the last one. So that shouldn't surprise absolutely anybody. But yeah, I mean, this is a sticking plaster as well, this energy bills thing. As I said earlier, if he's unwilling to reverse net zero, if he's unwilling to drill in the North Sea, which he's indicated he might be, but I think Labour backbench opposition is probably going to hamstring him there. If he's unwilling to deal with any of these issues that are actually affecting people's households, then sort of what's the point of him apart from him being a good vibes, King of the North Prime Minister?
Yeah, well, he's offering everybody hope, isn't he? And growth in every postcode, which I'm not quite sure how he's going to do.
Hope in every art and good growth in every postcode.
I mean, unbelievable. And also, get rid of one Reeves. He brought another one in. He's got Ellie Reeves, old Rachel's sister, who looks a bit like Richard III as well. In fact, we'll have to do her up as Richard III in reverse. Oh, it's a star alert. Pressed the wrong, fired the wrong star alert. We're working on a Burnham alert, by the way, which we should have hopefully by the end of the week. But yeah, Ellie Reeves is coming as Attorney General, apparently, because she once worked in a law office, so that's all great news. But what about Hope Not Hate, which is the other thing that's worrying an awful lot of people? Because Alison Phillips, who's somebody I know from her days of working with me at the Daily Mirror, was the editor of Daily Mirror for a while, but she went into then Hope Not Hate. She's now gone into Downing Street as some kind of advisor to join another guy called Matthew McGregor, who's gone in as the new director of political strategy. So there's a lot of people on the right, certainly, who are a bit concerned about his tie-up with Hope Not Hate.
Yeah, and they're right to be. I think Hope Not Hate is a disgraceful organisation that essentially just tries to dox and smear anybody to the right of Karl Marx as some sort of far-right nutcase. I'm surprised they haven't come after me before, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm doing something wrong there, Mike. Maybe I need to be more hardline. But when it comes to Hope Not Hate specifically, also they are heavily reliant on taxpayers' cash. I believe they've got over 800 grand over British taxpayers over the last few years. And actually, as an organisation, they have actually lost a lot of their fundraising capacity. They've been firing staff. They're not as active as they once used to be. And this is all because all of their, essentially all their money has, or their private money that is, have completely dried up. So if we see more taxpayers' money going to Hope Not Hate because of the number of people who used to work for Hope Not Hate now being in number 10, I'm just saying it now. Don't say I didn't tell you, but it possibly could happen. So yeah, I am quite concerned by that. Although one thing I am slightly more concerned by is the fact that a lot of the people he seems to be hanging around with have pretty radical economic ideas in the sense that they are actually pretty dangerous. So things like wealth taxes, rent controls are now apparently back on the table, which, I mean, for anybody who understands the housing market and understands supply and demand, you should be putting your head in your hands. And even though some left-wing commentators are complaining about how Burnham has been speaking left, but is appointing right, so to speak, appointing so-called right-wingers to his cabinet, not sure how people like Yvette Cooper or Ed Miliband or even John Healey be considered right-wing, but that's another thing for another day. But ultimately, I think what you are going to see from this Prime Minister, if he is wanting to be radical, is he's going to use the new Chancellor John Healey as the sort of respectable face of sort of radical left-wing economic policies, like perhaps a top rate of tax at 50p, perhaps rent controls, perhaps a wealth tax, perhaps equalising capital gains with income tax. He's going to use Healey as the sensible, respected cross-party figure to sell this to the British public and therefore take responsibility away from Burnham himself, which in regards to his devolution plans, Mike, is what Andy Burnham wants to do anyway. He actually doesn't really want any of this responsibility. He wants to give it to local politicians and local quangos and unelected officials around the country to deal with so that when it goes wrong, no one can blame him.
He doesn't seem to want to really be in charge of anything. I mean, he's given Ed Miliband the Foreign Secretary's job so that Miliband can fly around the world visiting, basically other countries and different foreign dignitaries, and he can do the Starmer hug to Emmanuel Macron and Volodymyr Zelensky. Because Burnham doesn't seem like he's very comfortable on the international stage. He doesn't really know much about it, doesn't really understand international affairs. There's a tweet from 2021 where he says any UK politician who gave Trump the time of day should be ashamed. It's not something that is that unusual, I suppose, in the Labour ranks. But he's given Wes Streeting defence, which seems mad to me because he's got absolutely no expertise in that area. And Yvette Cooper is like the woman who sank without trace. I mean, every time she goes anywhere, she kind of disappears. She was Foreign Secretary, she was Home Secretary, she's now been put in charge of the Health Service. She doesn't seem to do very much of anything. She never says anything.
No, it's interesting how she was Home Secretary when Keir Starmer first came into power, Mike. Let's not forget that, right? She started off as Home Sec and then was moved to another great office of state and now has been radically demoted. I mean, of course, Lammy as well, who is now not in the cabinet, was also demoted from being Foreign Secretary to Justice Secretary and then giving a slight promotion in regards to Deputy Prime Minister. Yeah, you wonder why sort of Cooper's there. Maybe it's because Cooper has some level of internal support in the Parliamentary Labour Party or the Parliamentary or the Labour Party base, so to speak. Often people are put in cabinet roles or ministerial roles simply because of the popularity they have with the backbenchers or indeed the base of the party. The Tories did this plenty of times as well. But yeah, it's interesting how there seems to be not just people being demoted, but also the purge of what you might call Starmer loyalists, like complete purge. Andy Burnham himself said he wanted to create unity, wanted to bring the party together, and yet the first thing he did, which by the way took ages to do, by the way, this reshuffle's taken forever. First thing he did was basically purge a lot of the Starmer loyalists, and a lot of the Starmer loyalists left themselves. And I don't often enjoy listening to SW1 hacks, but I was, and I don't enjoy listening to the BBC, but I was watching something from BBC Newsnight last night, where Patrick Maguire, who was at the Times, who does have a lot of contacts in the Labour Party, said that there was this party in a pub with Keir Starmer in it, and also various of his loyalists, so to speak, and they all sort of came in throughout the evening. And all of these former cabinet ministers and former ministers and Starmer loyalists got big rounds of applause as they went through the door. And Patrick on Newsnight said that one thing that was interesting about Keir Starmer is he didn't really have a faction, or at least a definable faction. But now, because Burnham has purged a lot of the Starmer loyalists from the cabinet, you could see the emergence of a new Starmer faction on the backbenches, which could cause trouble for Burnham down the line. Now, this is something you don't want to do, because let's not forget, this is exactly what Liz Truss did when she took over in 2022. She purged all of the Johnson and Sunak loyalists and basically just put her people in charge, which meant there was no difference in opinion, there was no debate, there was none of these things, and that's in reality one of the reasons one of the many reasons that led to her eventual downfall. And if Burnham's starting off this way, it doesn't show any sort of interesting, meeting with other members of the Labour Party and, having some conciliatory discussions with other members and factions of the Labour Party. And that's because I've said to you before, Mike, the King of the North, our Andy himself, doesn't particularly want discussion, doesn't particularly want debate. He just wants to so-called do things and everyone agree with him. And I think that's an underrated, not nasty per se, but maybe a little bit mean part of Andy, who thinks that he knows best. Yeah. And I think when he's Prime Minister and when you start to see his plans, you're going to see him throwing that waste around quite a lot.
Yes, no, I said that earlier in the show that basically he doesn't want factionalism in his party, because he wants everyone to agree with him, basically. And he just wants to kick everybody out who doesn't. But William, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. William Yarwood there from Taxpayers Alliance, campaigns director, no less, talking to us. Thank you very much indeed. Have a great day. Lots more coming up. Josh Rom is here. Very good morning to you, Josh. Nice to see you. I'm just going to do a quick meltdown before I get to you, because you've got some really fun stuff to talk to us about with the royal family and what's going on with Harry and Meghan. But Scarlett, can we do a little meltdown? Do you think?
If I can find it.
If you can find it. It should be a little sting sitting around somewhere. I can't tell you where it is because I don't know. But if you can, that would be marvellous. Because I want to talk about this cabinet and this ridiculous new broom that has swept in a load of people and swept out a load of other people, all just as useless as one another. So, the story so far is that apparently Andy Burnham is now the new Prime Minister. Yeah, I don't know how it happened either. He's come in and he's decided to get rid of all the people who liked Keir Starmer. There's not that many of them, but Rachel Reeves, gone, no longer the Chancellor. She was offered something else, she decided not to take it, so she's gone off to the back benches. As we just heard there from William Yarwood, there's a kind of faction growing of people who are pro-Starmer. David Lammy, do you remember him? He was Deputy Prime Minister. He was also Foreign Secretary. He was also Justice Minister. He's gone. There's nothing for him to do anymore because they don't want him. They've also managed to get rid of that ghastly individual, Darren Jones. Good riddance to him. He was a sort of pencil-necked moron who thought that only women and children were coming on the small boats. And he actually said it out loud in public on Question Time. He's gone for a Burton as well. Lord Hermer, the man who tried to give away the Chagos Islands for us, and the man who repeatedly told us that human rights were more important than our rights, and that therefore anybody who comes to this country from anywhere can stay here as long as we think that they shouldn't go home. Well, not we exactly, but the government. So instead, what we've got now is John Healey, the former Defence Secretary who resigned from the government because he didn't think they knew what they were doing when it came to money. They've put him in charge of the money. Ed Miliband, a man who has driven us into the ground financially because of his obsession and zealotry about net zero, has been made Foreign Secretary. So he's now going to be flying around in private jets all over the place, meeting people and burning carbon. I don't quite know how that works out. Wes Streeting, the man who was in charge of the National Health Service and was supposedly going to bring the waiting list down, which of course he hasn't done, is now been put in charge of our armed forces. He's Defence Secretary. Unbelievable. Shabana Mahmood stays as Home Secretary. She'll continue to be just as useless as she was under Starmer. Yvette Cooper's now been moved to Health Secretary. She'll say nothing, do nothing, and be of no use whatsoever. Angela Rayner makes a return as Housing Secretary. Why not? She's got 3 houses, none of which she seems to figure out what council tax to pay or what stamp duty to pay or which one to declare as her main residence even. Who knows? Jonathan Reynolds, the lying fake solicitor who pretended to be a solicitor when he actually wasn't for 10 years. He's now been put in charge of business and science. Lucy Powell, who is Deputy Prime Minister effectively, is now being given education. Bridget Phillipson gets made redundant and she's in charge of women and equalities. Pat McFadden continues to be working pension secretary. It's his job to try and convince the backbenchers to actually do away with some of the benefits that people get and make people go to work for a living. He's not going to make that happen. Lisa Nandy stays as digital culture, media, sports secretary and pie eater in chief of the party. And the rest of it really doesn't really bear thinking about, apart from the star turn, who is, of course, the first Secretary of State and Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, the aforementioned professional convicted criminal, Louise Haigh, a woman who tried to defraud her bosses of a new phone when she reported it stolen when it wasn't stolen. So much as the Times refers to George Cottrell as a convicted criminal working at Reform, it doesn't refer to Louise Haigh as a convicted criminal who's working in the government. And guess what? She's in charge of the ethics of the government as well. So it makes it even worse. Absolutely shocking. So I'm afraid I'm going to give Andy Burnham's new cabinet 0 out of 10. Thumbs down. It's only going to be a few days before it all goes horribly wrong and it crashes and burns. So you might as well call him Andy Crash and Burnham, because that's what's going to happen. That's my meltdown for the day. Oh, it's all so predictable, isn't it? Anyway, Josh Rom's here to talk about something much less serious.
But before we go on to Royals, I just want to say, let's spare a thought for poor Emily Thornberry. She thought she was probably going to be Attorney General again.
Oh, God,
and then
forgot all about her.
No Attorney General for Emily Thornberry.
I think the trouble for Emily Thornberry is that nobody likes her. And she's managed to be a sort of equal opportunity dislike of almost every single faction of the Labour Party, because she pretends that she's, better than all of them and lords it over all of them. You remember when she was in charge of that committee looking into the whole business of Peter Mandelson?
Of course.
And she just really made herself look completely and utterly ridiculous.
But she is quite entertaining.
She is.
I'll give her that. She's entertaining.
She is
at
entertaining,
least.
but I don't want politicians that are entertaining. I'd like politicians
to be serious and statesmanlike.
Well, just to be actually capable of doing the job.
Competent, yeah.
Yeah, competent would be a really big
Competence
improvement.
will be a fine thing.
Because we've basically had 2 years of a Labour government who have said to us now that the 2 years that we've just had have been a waste of time, run by the wrong people, appointed the wrong people, did absolutely nothing about what they were supposed to do when they got in, and now we're going to start all over again. So now we get a clean sheet and, hope.
Start all over again, but with half of the same people who were originally appointed, and then other people who, bearing in mind as well, we look at the new Chancellor, John Healey. He, of course, served under Blair and Brown. Yeah. But, of course, they were the ones who pretty much, for a lot of people, I think, kick-started the doom loop that our country is in. When it's basic economics. There's boom and bust. You save during the boom so you can spend during the bust. Yeah. But they spent during the boom, so we had nothing left during the bust. And so you've got these people that worked, for example, the Chancellor, that worked under Blair and Brown, who know what to do when the country's doing good and we've got an economic boom, but yet the economics now are in a completely different situation. And the Labour government, for the last 2 years, have had zero ideas, zero plans, U-turns galore. Right. It's going to be more of the same, isn't it?
It will be, yeah, because as you say, there's no money left to do anything. When he finds out there's no money left, what's he going to do then? He can't really put any more taxes on, not realistically. I mean, today's great benefit is we get 90p off a week.
But it's all about devolution, Mike. It's all about devolution. Bringing the power back to Manchester.
I mean, it's pathetic as well. I mean, it's making out like, that everybody who lives in the north of England is somehow walking around without shoes on and kind of with a whippet that's dying of starvation because they can't afford to feed it. That's not what the north is like.
It's a Yorkshire Terrier, not a whippet.
Yeah, and it's not what the bloody north of England is like. I mean, just had Esther McVey in here a minute ago, and, she's from a very affluent part of the northwest of England. She's lived a reasonably happy life up there. It's not as if she's begging for scraps of food on the street corner, to kind of portray the North as this kind of poverty-stricken wasteland is kind of embarrassing and rather condescending, I think.
I mean, the whole thing has been totally condescending and inviting Donald Trump to the North as if we're going to be showing you the North, everything, the great and good.
I mean, I've been to Manchester.
It's a lovely city, I think, actually, as it happens.
It's got some quite good things going for it, but it's not exactly Nirvana. He's making out like it's some undiscovered pleasure dome. It really is.
But it's not Dickensian either, and that's the whole point. Yes. It might not be Nirvana, but it's not exactly Dickensian with the workhouses.
No, it's no worse than any other city, and it's no better than any other city. It's quite small. It's quite provincial, actually. But there's plenty going on there, and there's plenty of people with money. You know, apart from anything else, the two biggest football teams in the world, two of the biggest, Manchester United and Manchester City, are there. You know, to try and make out that it's somehow poverty-stricken.
And Manchester is known as the second capital of the United Kingdom as well. So, yeah, absolutely.
It is. Anyway, listen, you're here to talk about Prince Harry.
Yes.
Or formerly known as Harry the Herbert, as I like to call him.
Well,
What's going on
he's
with
still
him?
technically Prince. It's
I
one
wish
of
he
those.
wasn't. I wish they'd just strip it from him and just stop calling him the Duke of Sussex, stop calling him Prince anything, and just call him Harry.
Well, I mean, listen, this is the thing. It's one of those things. He is a Prince of the United Kingdom. That is his birthright. And I also think it's important to have perspective because we look at Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and what he's accused of. Obviously, legal reasons, he denies everything.
Yeah.
He denies any criminal behaviour. Meghan and Harry are just trying to make a success of themselves. Now, are they conducting themselves in a way which is, let's just say, becoming? Regal?
No.
That's questionable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to be at least fair to them and have some perspective on looking at the wider royal family. I think the most offensive thing that Harry's done recently has not necessarily been Invictus, because Invictus is a great cause.
Yeah.
Listen, Meghan and all the documentaries that they've tried to do for Netflix and whatever, fine. The court case has been the problem, and the way he's conducted himself, not just in court, but around the court, especially afterwards, the statement that he made. And I think it was very noticeable that not all the claimants signed up to that statement. It was only him, Baroness Lawrence, and I think Sadie Frost.
Yeah.
Elton John his name was not on that statement at all.
Right.
Because I think Elton knows as well, he's going to be the one that has to bankroll everything now. But also, it's one thing to say we're disappointed by the verdicts, we intend to appeal, it's not over until it's over. But what they did in that statement was completely almost slam the justice system, saying we didn't get any justice at all, therefore putting his own father in now a difficult position. And I think His Majesty the King has a real quandary on his hands because he wants to reconcile with his son on a personal level, on a family matter. He wants to see his king.
And he did meet with him this time, didn't he? And the kids.
He met his son, he met the kids with Meghan. Queen Camilla rushed over from whatever she's doing at the last minute, rushed over to Highgrove to meet them. But he wants to reconcile on a family matter, but there is the whole thing of we can't let him anywhere near the kind of the state occasions, the half in, half out, because he's still proving himself to be a liability.
Yeah, you can't trust him. You don't know what he's going to do or say, and you don't know what he's going to say afterwards or who's going to be giving an interview to. You know, I'm surprised he hasn't spoken already about his visit with his dad.
Well, that's because I think the meeting with his dad was on, there was a lot of preconditions set on that meeting of if we're going to meet you and the kids, there is to be no media briefings, no nothing. We'll give you what you want in terms of headlines, renewing the royal status. It gives you more currency in Hollywood. Whatever you need to do to sell yourselves and, you know, to be a part of this family on just a family personal matter. But absolutely nothing's to be said publicly.
It's pathetic that has to be said, though, isn't it? That they have to have an agreement that he doesn't do it, rather than him just knowing he shouldn't be doing it.
Well, I think he does know that he shouldn't be doing it, but it goes to show that actually the palace don't trust him.
Yeah.
But what I would say is I also think the palace have played an absolute blinder because we saw absolutely no pictures of Harry and Meghan and the kids arriving at Highgrove. Meghan and the kids in the country went completely undetected. Meghan was supposed to be at the Invictus event in Birmingham. She wasn't there. And I thought it was, on another note, very clever on that very same day to make sure that Catherine was at the charity polo match in Windsor to make sure she was pictured with the Prince of Wales. So the papers were all saying, look at the Prince and Princess of Wales, as opposed to Harry and Meghan, who were apart that day. That was a very clever note. But actually, I think the palace played a blinder when it came to the security, because Meghan and the kids came in and out of this country completely undetected, which undermines Prince Harry's, I'm just going to say almost temper tantrums when it comes to his security arrangements.
Exactly, because he keeps saying, "Oh, I can't bring them to the British Isles because
of security and all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's too dangerous for them. We can't go there." You know,
and yet they came into the country completely undetected.
So the next time he claims that, somebody will say, well, hang on, they were here last week. What's the problem? You know, there wasn't a problem.
But another thing as well is he was obviously umming and ahhing about the Buckingham Palace. Do I stay? Do I not? If he's staying in a royal residence, he falls under royal protection when he stays in a royal residence. So one would have thought that actually, if the king is offering, or the palace is offering, stay with us, one would have thought, security-wise, that's free, not just free accommodation, but secure accommodation. Surely he would jump at the chance to stay in Buckingham Palace. But that wasn't the case.
No. And what's this about him supposedly having an interest in another woman, which is being put around?
You see, my sources tell me that I know there's all the speculation about how they've been having rows and their marriage, and they occasionally stay at separate places. That's all speculation. I don't believe that. My source tells me that actually the one thing that is watertight, the one thing that is solid in Prince Harry's life is his marriage to Meghan Markle. I don't believe any of the speculation. And actually, I would go as far to say that I was in the courtroom when Prince Harry gave his testimony in the most recent trial. He didn't need to mention Meghan because Meghan had absolutely nothing to do with the trial whatsoever. He wanted to make a point about how the press made his wife's life an absolute misery, were his words. But I think by bringing her up, it just shows how watertight they are. And actually, I think that because we look at the psychology of Harry in that trial, because I know some people say he's perjured himself because he lied about his relationship with Charlotte Griffiths, and actually it was shown to be otherwise. Charlotte Griffiths and the Mail released those messages. But I genuinely believe that he believes none of that existed. I think he's changed this whole entire mindset to kind of fit his marriage with Meghan. And I think he's so engrossed in that marriage with Meghan that, and the way Meghan kind of not wants him to be, but the way he's become with her, that I think he's genuinely just blanked out all of those previous memories out of his mind.
Yeah, maybe.
And I think that's a theory that other people aren't necessarily talking about.
No, interesting.
And that's the thing. I think the marriage is solid. It's the one thing in his life that is solid, because his career, going off to Silicon Valley, such as it is, we don't hear much about that. The philanthropy's not going well. We've had the Centre Barley, lots of the charity splits. The only thing that is going well right now, and rightfully so, and should be, is Invictus. Veterans, brilliant cause. The Meghan marriage, I think, is strong.
Okay. We might have to mark this moment down, 9:59 on Tuesday, the 21st of July, 2026. That's what Josh Roberts said. The marriage is fine, absolutely fine, nothing to worry about.
That's
Thank you
my
very
sources,
much indeed.
just my sources.
Good to see you.
Good to see you
right,
too.
we've got about 1 minute left, I think. Can we do a little bit of Pooch's Pooch? Now, this is a dog called Boris, Black Labrador, belongs to a friend of mine called Deborah, who sadly passed away just a few days ago. And he was a wonderful dog. And the dog that he's playing with is my dog, Ziggy, who's much less, as you can see, active in the background. Boris used to love picking up a stick and dropping it in front of you. And if you didn't do anything, he'd pick it up and drop it again until you did something about it. It was a fabulous dog. And my condolences and heartfelt thanks go out to Deborah, who introduced us to Boris, and he was wonderful. So that's the show for today. Thank you very much indeed to Josh Romp for coming in. Esther McFaber's here, thanks to her. Thanks to Mick Fleming as well, Pastor Mick, or Bishop Mick. William Yarwood as well, of course. Charlotte's dad, who was here, William Clouston, Marilyn Hall, Steve Baker, and Lee Nalalingam. Coming up at 10 o'clock, it's time for Kelvin McKenzie. You can see him right here on UK Live online. Switch it over now. And he's there from 10 o'clock every single weekday. We'll see you tomorrow at 7.
Why don't you relax and be a bit more MG? That would be a triumph.